Yes, sir. We live.
What's going on, everybody? Vulcan Soapbox live. We are ready to get busy. So right now, partner, right now I'm setting it to where it won't be private. It hasn't popped up yet. So while that's happening, everybody, thanks for tuning into the show today. We're going to be covering some very controversial topics today. Well, one very important and controversial topic that tends to spread out and touch on a lot of other topics that we may cover a little bit, but not too much. We're going to be focusing on Vlad TV. We're going to be focusing on Lord Jarmar comments. We're focusing on being a culture vulture, what that means, being racially insensitive and what that means. There's opinions all over the place on this topic. Let me go and make this edit privacy. And we are now live on Facebook. So yeah, we're going to be covering all the topics. Being a culture vulture, being racially insensitive, hip-hop. And the show is about critical thinking and reason and logic. That being the case, when you hear people or see people addressing these things online, they're giving their opinion. They're maybe even giving an educated opinion. The purpose of their show is to be entertaining and be informative. Ours is similar, but it's the Vulcan Soapbox is primarily focused on teaching you how to be like a Vulcan. The Vulcans in Star Trek, they were people of reason and logic. They didn't have the biggest personalities or the most animated personalities. But our culture got that on lock when it comes to animated personalities and being entertaining. What I want to focus on is us actually being critical thinkers, thinking about somebody's argumentation, putting our emotions to the side when it comes to discerning what the truth is. Not putting our emotions to the side because our emotions aren't good. Not putting our emotions to the side because they're going to, in some way, negatively affect how we enjoy or consume whatever it is we're consuming. We're putting emotions to the side for one reason. Because it's not helpful when it comes to discerning the truth claims of someone or something. So that's what we're going to do. Vulcan Soapbox. Let's get into it. We got,
What is the black girlfriend effect?
You just blow up the other culture.
Yeah, so you'll see a guy who's had a black girlfriend, all of a sudden he's got buzz cut, clean shape up.
Glows up, bro.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
They shave their hair because they start losing it. Because they're so stressed being around this black girl complaining. That's why they got to shave their hair.
Nah, bro. White guys with black girlfriends, they
grow
step,
beards because there's more cushion when they get slapped.
That's hilarious. We just wanted to address.
Yeah, let's go ahead and pause that right there. So for audience, we're covering right now a video on Andrew Shultz podcast, was interviewing two guys from out of the country. They're there on their tour, and they're talking about what the black woman effect is. And I'm sure a lot of you out there, you know what it is. The black woman effect is the idea that when a black woman gets with a man, specifically a non-black man, that she helps him, assists him in becoming more suave and clean cut and getting a certain look that's, and within the black context, to be more of an attractive look from how you do your beard, the kind of fades you're getting, the edge ups, all those kind of things, even the garb, all of that stuff is meant to be enhanced by the black woman's ability to enhance his fashion. So that's the black woman effect. He makes a joke about it. Now that we're talking about, before we get into it, they talk about what they go into, they're going to apologize here shortly about it. They're laughing, they're having a good time. Andrew Shultz laughing, he makes a joke. He's a comedian. He make people laugh because that's the things comedians do. That's a quote from Serious Jones. Serious Jones when his battle of Murder Mook. But that's what he made a joke. Comedians make fun of everybody. I want everybody to understand. Comedians make fun of everybody. Is the black woman effect a real thing? I don't know. I've always dressed like this and worn my hair like this. So whether it's a black woman or not, this is how I look. If I try to think outside of myself, I've seen a little bit of everything. but let's just say it's a real thing. It's a cultural thing. It's a cultural taste. It's an aesthetic that maybe certain demographics find more alluring. It's not greater or better than any other kind of look. Maybe subjectively to you, or maybe to me, maybe to black women, but it's a fun thing to discuss. But it's not an objective thing. People can have different tastes in what's attractive. Some folks may see the way I'm looking and the way my stuff is, and might not find it attractive, and that's fine. Maybe I should, get rid of the beard and just have a mustache. Maybe I should be clean shaven completely. People that are clean shaven are considered more trustworthy. That's why you notice presidents, they don't have any facial hair. It's one reason. So there's other metrics and intentions when people are cleaning up themselves, doing what they got to do to make themselves look presentable, to be able to have the social mobility they want in their respective occupations and their business situations. So the black woman effect, it's fun. It's cool to talk about. There's definitely some truth to it. But is this a real thing that people should be bragging about or laughing about? I don't really think so. Laughing about, you can laugh about it. But as far as bragging about it, it's only going to be a brag-worthy thing to note to those who are within that demographic. And I would say that that's a very small demographic compared to the overall population of the world. So I don't think it's something that we should, as a black community specifically, pedestalize and say, look, this is how amazing we are. Look what we do. We take a non-black man and make him look better and dress better. There's some aspects of our fashion and our culture that aren't the best. I'm not going to get into that portion of it, but there's balance in everything. There's a yin and a yang. There's pros and cons. There's trade-offs with everything. The haircut he get now may not cost as much as the haircut he was getting when he was with the black lady. It may not be fiscally responsible all the time to dress like we like to dress and to do what we do. Some people like more of a natural line instead of the edge-up line. Denzel Washington, he was notorious for not getting edge-ups. He had edge-up in Training Day, but he didn't have edge-up in a lot of his movies. And some people don't think that looks good. I've heard women, and mainly women, but even some men, especially the ones who are non-black, say, I don't like the fact that y'all's line is so artificial. Why not just rock more of a natural look? So the black woman effect is subjective to those who find that look attractive. The world's over 8 billion people. Not everybody finds that attractive. We can continue, unless you got something.
Yes, sir, I do. I want to go over some comments. One of the comments said the problem with Andrew's joke is that it's wrapped in racial microaggression. And as the great David Chappelle said, when making a joke, don't punch down. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I'm gonna try to deal. I'm gonna separate the two different comments here, and then I'll address them as such. So the problem with Andrew jokes is that it's wrapped in racial microaggressions. That's an opinion. The joke could be wrapped in racial microaggressions, or the joke could just be what it actually is. It's a joke. Andrew Shultz has not demonstrated much to make us think that he's acting aggressive, passive aggressive, microaggressive, any of those kind of, or just aggressive. We don't have anything to really say that he's doing that. The joke was meant to be a funny joke on topic. He didn't go out of his way to say the joke. They pretty much kind of set it up for him to knock out the park. And also, if you're going to put yourself out there and say black girl magic, Indian girl magic, black man magic, if you're going to pedestalize yourself in some kind of way, and then also in a microaggressive kind of way, if we're going to take it the way this person's taking it, if you're going to be the one putting yourself out there like that and saying this right here is better than what's out there, because we're saying, let's be honest, we're saying black woman effect. We're saying that this black women have this ability, this seemingly innate ability, because we're not saying black women's culture, imagine. We're saying black women, so this is some kind of innate ability in women or whatever, black women to be able to make a man more attractive. Mm-hmm. That's subjective. Mm-hmm. That could be a shot at other people groups, other minority groups, other groups that are not considered minorities. Most people in the world are impoverished. Getting a fade and getting the edge up and dressing in nice clothing is the least of their worries. you taking a shot at them? So that's the problem with this kind of a comment right here. The assumption is a microaggression. From a biblical standpoint, that'd be considered fault finding or having evil suspicions. Where's the context to prove this? This is a witch hunt. Just I don't like what you said, it's a microaggression. And then the second part, and as the great Dave Chappelle said, when making a joke, don't punch down. Oh, come on now. Okay, first we have to establish what don't punch down means. Now, I can get what they're trying to say. They're saying in the system that we're in right now, there are certain groups that are considered to be less than. They're less than in the sense of access to things that is necessary, like resources, access to privilege, whatever it might be. So they're saying culturally they already have a lot of negative stigma attached to them. They already get the short end of the stick. Don't make a joke at their expense. The problem with that is that's opinion. You just said black girl magic. So you got this magic. Ladies, black women can call themselves divas and queens and all the different things they go about that. What if the broader society doesn't look down on you or don't think they're punching down by making jokes about you? I was just hearing a doctor on the internet recently saying that whenever you can make fun of yourself and you can laugh at jokes regarding you, it shows that you're civil, that you don't take yourself too seriously, that, hey, we're all on the same playing field. Think about it in your own life. When you're around people that you know and don't know, can you laugh at yourself? Can you make fun of yourself? Can you accept somebody making fun of you, as long as it's not in a disrespectful kind of way? That's a bigger indication of who you are and whether you're punching down or not. You might be down morally. You may be down ethically. You may be down civilly. You might not be down in a cultural way to most people. I've heard many people that are non-black say that I look up to black people. Black people control the culture. Whether that's true or not, the point that I'm making is your assumption that it's down. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's down.
Hey,
So
I got a question. Can you elaborate more when you said that as long as not in a disrespectful way as far as a joke? Because I think some of the audience might consider what Andrew Tate said about black women could be considered disrespectful. So can you elaborate on as long as it's not in a disrespectful way when you're telling a joke?
Well, the thing about that, it's going to be somewhat difficult to elaborate on that, just due to the fact that people find different things disrespectful, especially ladies. They've already done a study on this, and they've done numerous studies on this, and we know this. Anybody who's worked in HR knows this. The majority of the complaints in HR are going to be filed by ladies. Let's keep it real.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
So they've already done a study. Well, I'll give you two studies. And I mentioned this before in shows in the past. One was a study involving babies, toddlers, something like that. And they put obstacles in these babies' way, and they had their moms calling for them, saying, hey, come here, come here, come here, come here. And the moms are calling for the babies. Some are boys, some are girls. When the boys faced obstacles in the course that inhibited those them from getting to their mother, they would knock the obstacles out of the way, try to crawl over the obstacles. They try to find ways to solve the problem. When the girls had obstacles in their way, what do? They would cry. That's as babies before socialization, because that's the common rejoinder. So that's because of socialization. We teach our boys to be warriors. We teach our girls to be weak, and whatever variation of those terms you want to use. Study number 2. They did an experiment where they had women and men. They thought that what they were doing is a study to see if they would face discrimination when it comes to interviews based off facial deformities. So they put makeup on them that gave them marks or scars on their face, whatever the case may have been. And when they put that stuff on top of their face, they say, hey, look, you're going to go in here and do an interview. And after that, you're going to come back and you'll let us know whether or not you face any type of discrimination based off of the fact that you had that facial deformity. So as they're leaving the room, they say, hey, let me touch something up real quick. They remove the scar without the person involved in this experiment knowing about it. So the women and men, they did their interviews and they came back and they interviewed them and said, hey, look, how did it go with this interview? Did you face discrimination? And anybody that's worked in corporate America, anybody that's had daughters or, moms or aunts or whatever the case may be knows who believe they face discrimination. The ladies. Not only did the ladies say they face discrimination, they also quoted the interviewer things that they believe that they said that insinuated with some kind of microaggression or whatever it might have been, and to the effect of them being discriminated against because of their deformity. What do the men generally say? I didn't notice any discrimination. This is not to put ladies down or to put men up. It's just saying that some people are more predisposed to viewing themselves as being the victim. Doesn't mean they're not ever victims. Doesn't mean they don't face discrimination at times. But we all know some people believe they're getting discriminated against. And that's something this is not a gender thing. It can happen to women and it can happen to men. It's just women are more likely to do it. So when women are talking about microaggressions and saying that they're punching down, you got to ask yourself the question, am I playing the victim? What absolves me from dealing with the same type of jokes at my expense as everybody else, as Indian women and Asian women and Asian men and Middle Eastern men and women? If we want equality, we want to be treated equal, we want to be viewed as equal, you can't be like, you can joke at everybody in here but me. When you do stuff like that, it makes people despise you. We all knew that growing up. Maybe a kid was a favorite, maybe in a class a certain kid was the favorite, teacher's pet. How do the students feel about that kid? Let's be real. How do students feel about that kid? Nobody likes that. When I'm in the business world, people are talking about people feel like somebody gets special treatment, nepotism, whatever the case may be. What ends up happening? People complain. It brings down the morale. Why are they getting special treatment? It's a conflict of interest. If you got a black comedian up there and he's making fun of everybody, but he don't make fun of black women, how does that look? Is that going to help with racial progression, cultural progression? Or is that going to label, stigmatize certain people? Don't do that to yourself. So that's what I say about that comment.
No doubt. Let's get into the apology.
We just wanted to address something that's happening at the minute. This past weekend, there's been a couple of clips going around from when we did a session on the Flagrant podcast while we were on our US tour. And there were a few jokes made that were incredibly inappropriate. One specifically pertaining to black women. And in the clip, Andrew was making a joke. I'm not even gonna get into specifics, making a frankly racist joke. And we were laughing at it. And to give, there's first of all, before we get into specifics or anything like that, obviously there's just literally no excuse. There is no excuse.
Agreed.
And fight or flight is a real thing. It is, fight or flight is a real thing, and it's so not easy to say, but when you're in those situations, you look at it through a lens of bro, if it was me, I promise I'll stand up, I'll kick them cameras down, I'll smack homeboy in the face, I would say this, I'll do that. But when you're in there, you're in shock.
You're in shock, and all you want to do is move on.
Move on in word, bro. All you want to do just move on to the next thing. Just move on to the next thing.
There's
and we had to say a few times, bro, just move on. Just move on.
So many different topics. We're like, move on.
Yeah.
It's not even about pity laughs or anything, but we just wanted to
get out of that situation.
Literally get out of that situation, keep the ball running. And we thought it was going to be more of a bros.
It ended up being something that's really, really hurt people that look to us for support and look to us to feel protected. And protected is the main thing that I wanted to discuss, is that it is our duty to protect you guys.
Facts.
And it is definitely not cool to be in that situation. And again, not be the ones to stand up and kick the cameras down. And on that occasion, it's not going to happen again. And it's about being human. It's about realizing that you don't know what you're prepared for. You don't know how to prepare for something. You don't know what's going to happen. And once it's happened one time, you're like,
you learn from your mistakes. And that's literally
learn from your mistakes. We're sorry.
You definitely do apologize.
It's, for me, it's one of them ones where you don't realize that, for one, when you're part of a community, you don't realize that you can hurt your own community.
Especially
when you're not, when unintentionally.
Unintentionally, for real.
And also, on top of that, it was so crazy that the narrative that's been spun about how we feel about our community the irony of the fact that whilst the whole reason we're in that country was to just show how much we love our community and show how much we love our supporters and how much time we spent at the shows and just like getting to know people and just like understanding our community better and just like making friends and making bonds and showing love, and they're showing love. And this whole 6-week trip was just about showing how much we love our community and how much our community show out for us. And then to have that exact same trip be the reason that we're having to have this conversation now. But at the end of the day, mistakes make you a better person.
Mistakes do make
you're
you a better person.
You're not born a perfect person. And yeah, we don't condone, we don't appease that behavior, we don't rate it. And we don't want you guys to think that we were sat in that room rating what's going on.
We hold our hands up, we apologize, you learn from your mistakes, and we hope we don't let our community down again, because ultimately we do this for you guys. Like,
yeah, you guys.
So again, we have these guys apologizing, and you know, you see, I don't know if we're gonna get into the comments on this one or not, but you know, you see people saying, "Oh, look, them, they laughed." It's kind of similar to the Will Smith, Jada Pinkett, Chris Rock thing. People saw him laugh, they were like, he was cool at first, and then he got mad. Which may be true. Most, you know, I mean, that's a fair assessment for the most part. These guys were laughing when Andrew Shultz said his joke, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's because they were approving of what he said. I didn't find the joke funny. I did find the conversation funny. But I think for the audience, I want you to understand this. We get into psychology. We get into understanding how human nature works. If you pedestalize yourself in front of people, if you say, look at me, I'm great, I'm grand, I'm magical, I'm mystical, I'm legendary, I'm divine, it's going to bring about dissension. It's going to bring about mismatchers, people that believe they got to restore the balance for good or bad reasons. You know, I'll give one example, and I'll probably give a few different examples, but one example I'll give is Jerry Seinfeld. Whenever Jerry Seinfeld would do stand-up comedy, every now and again, a host would introduce him as the greatest comedian on earth. And he tells a story about how when that happened to him, after he did his set, he went to the guy and said, hey, don't ever introduce me like that again. And he was like, what's up? He goes, as soon as you introduce me as the greatest comedian of all time, or whatever on the earth, people are going to be like, oh, really? Those of us who are in the world of sales and business, they call it under-promising and over-delivering. You don't want to over-promise, under-deliver. So if you're going to say black girl magic, these guys were on to talk about black girl magics, black girls raising the bar when it comes to looks and aesthetics with the man who's non-black. How do you know Andrew Shultz didn't take that, you know, as a shot? Not in a negative way, like he's really offended. He's a comedian. He can handle way more than that. He may have said, well, my look would not be considered black girl magic. I don't like the way he dresses and how he cuts his hair. Who cares what I think about how he dresses and cuts his hair? So whenever these guys are saying you get with a black woman and she makes you dress nicer and your beard and you got the edge up and the line up and all that kind of stuff, as a man who doesn't have that stuff, is he not allowed to defend himself in his culture if he wants to? He may not think what black women are doing with white men and Asian men, whatever, when they get their garb and their look change is all that magical at all. He doesn't have to. There's no objective rubric to say that this particular way to dress and cut your hair and even the swag attached to it is better, grander, more, you know, more efficient, more productive, whatever it is, than the next person's. So again, us in our community, if you're going to pedestalize yourself, if you're going to say, this is magical, we're divine, we're this, we're that, what you're doing is you're setting up for yourself naysayers, mismatchers. Anybody who's read different books on the topic, the 40 Laws of Power, what does it say? That's Law 46, breeding up envy. If you're going to be around bragging about and talking about how smart you are, how beautiful you are, how charming you are, how grand you are, how amazing you are, people are going to resent you for that. Let another praise you, not your own lips, if you want to use a verse from the Bible. My point, I'm not saying it's wrong to do that, y'all. Do it if you want to do it. Just understand and be aware. people are not always going to value that like you do. Not only they're not going to value it like you do, they could, justifiably so, take it as a slight on their own culture. If I go somewhere else and I'm saying, look at the magic, look at my edge up, look at my cut. I don't think that's better than how I'm dressed and how I'm cut. I don't think your women are more magical than my women. I don't think that's magical. I think that's subjective. I think it's obviously subjective. They have a fair point with that. So these guys are apologizing for this comment because they laughed at a joke that Andrew Shultz said about black women. Again, you got to take the good with the bad. If these guys are saying black women really do this and do this and do this for other types of men, that's fine. I happen to think that the black girl magic thing is cool because I tend to dress and carry myself like they would present somebody from another race, how they would or change them, some other ethnicity. Not that I really believe in race. We're all one race, the human race, but we have different ethnicities, different phenotypes, blah, 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 if we want to get technical with it. So my point is saying this: if you're going to put yourself up there, people may want to pull you down. That's the risk you take. The squeaky wheel is going to get the oil. That's the risk you take if you set yourself up to be better or beyond or more magical than other people around you because of your arbitrary, subjective taste and style that I personally appreciate. So again, let's move forward. Sorry, I'm going to finish covering the last piece of their apology on here. I don't think these guys are wrong for laughing at the joke. Them laughing at the joke in no way means that they don't appreciate black women, that they think black women are less than. You got to be able to take a joke. If you can't take a joke, that's more of an indictment on you. That's such a benign joke. This reminds me of the whole debate with the Will Smith and Jada Pinkett and the Chris Rock thing. For most people, especially most comedians, they're like, that joke was light. And most of us know that joke was light.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a small minority who are like, no, that joke's not light. All right, let's go ahead and get into these comments. What we got?
Segue to this is why I'm not mad at Will Smith. Bullying black American women has been normalized to the point of psychopathy. That's extreme. No, it's not just a joke. No, it's not okay. The excuses just make it worse. It's bullying. It's abusive and it's toxic. Thoughts?
Well, again, this is their opinion about it. And when it comes to subjectivity of, like this, let me say this. People who say something's a joke and not a joke, this is my thing, and it's the purpose of this show. Have you even looked up the definition of a joke? Have you looked up the structure of a joke? There's a science to everything. A joke can be positive and funny. A joke can be negative and funny. A joke can be positive and not funny. A joke can be negative and not funny. Whoever this person writing this comment, and this is a representation of and a personification of all people out here who tend to have this view right here. Break it down for us Barney style. Mm-hmm. How is it not a joke? You know better than the comedians. It's not a joke. And I'm not saying you can't know better than comedians. Comedians don't have some kind of special knowledge on what a joke is. They have experience. They live in that world. Presumably they've done more study into that world, especially professional comedians. Because again, there's a science. You can go take a joke class where you learn how to tell jokes better. There's a structure to jokes. You may not know it, but to say it's not a joke is just somebody giving their opinion, most likely out of their emotionalism. Are they being objective? The excuses just make it worse. It's bullying. It's abusive. It's toxic. Their excuses. I didn't find their excuses that compelling myself. But yeah. So they're laughing and they're saying they want the move. That could be true. We've all laughed at stuff, right, wrong, or indifferent, that we were uncomfortable about. If you study psychology, I don't know the term of it for this, but that's a real thing people do. Some people laugh in uncomfortable situations. I think it's even like a medical condition that's even in the book that they have for psychology.
Yeah, it's called the Will Smith laugh.
So my point is just saying, like, you saying it's not a joke, that's your opinion. Let anybody else who has that belief that's out there, come with some facts. Give me the definition of a joke and then tell me how this doesn't fit the definition of a joke. What's the next one we got?
Another comment. They just I guess they're referring to black women. They're just being emotional over a joke.
I think this is probably right. Lord Jesus Christ. That's hilarious. Yeah. Just being emotional. Instead of being emotional over a joke?
Yes, they're just being emotional over a joke.
Now again, I'm a stickler for words. You're supposed to be emotional over a joke.
Okay.
Emotional is not a negative thing. If I'm at a funeral, that's emotional. If I'm jubilant and excited about a promotion, that's emotional. There's nothing wrong with being emotional, but I know connotatively people say emotional. What they mean is somebody that's being carried away by their emotions. Somebody that's emotions are ruling over their reason. Now that is a problem. What's the next we got?
Next one. The apologies issued by those individuals appear to be primarily motivated by the cancel culture rather than a genuine remorse of sincerity.
Yeah, that was a tongue twister right there. And everybody listening, Enos had surgery on his mouth, so he's not reading like Kevin Garnett right now. It's just a surgery.
Kevin Garnett. Yeah, shout out to Kevin Garnett. Go ahead.
I think this is probably I suspect this is right. But it doesn't mean that the apology lacks any type of sincerity. I always say this, and those of us who've been in relationships, you get this. There's generally two things you can apologize for. What you actually said, especially if it's or did, which could be incorrect morally, meaning that you violated some type of objective rubric outside of yourself. If you're a Muslim or you're Christian or a Jew, you did something that was outside of what you're called to do in your respective group, religion or whatever. If you're in a job and you have SOPs, you have guidelines, you're playing basketball, you travel, whatever, you don't notice the clock like J.R. Smith did, and it cost you the game, you might apologize. You're going to apologize for your action and how it affected the team, and you're going to apologize. Well, you're going to apologize for your action, how it affected the team, and also how the team's accomplishing its goal. And you're also going to apologize for the duress that they have to go through because of your infraction. That's one side. When you have some kind of rubric outside of yourself that's not arbitrary, that you're saying, yeah, I violated that. We have this in common. We know this was the standard, and I didn't meet that standard. That's a great apology. Then you can apologize for the way something affected somebody. It might be something like, somebody might be like, hey, man, when you left yesterday, you didn't say bye. In that situation right there, I'm not apologizing for leaving. But I did not intend to hurt you by leaving without saying bye. I had something going on. The kids were making too much noise. I'm trying to catch the game somewhere. I'm late for where I'm going next. I stayed a little bit extra just to spend a little bit more time with you. You got caught up in something, and I had to dip out. And I didn't say bye to you. Maybe that person wanted to give you something before you left. Maybe that person wanted to tell you something before you left. They just assumed you were going to say bye, which is a reasonable assumption. I'm a Batman. I'm going to leave without saying bye most of the time. But we're gonna party like it's 1999 while I'm there. Again, you're apologizing for the way it affected the person because you value that person's feelings and you can see some merit to why they might feel that way. But then you have situations where somebody wants you to apologize and you didn't violate any type of standard outside of yourself and the way they feel is unmerited. I had a situation where, I had some guys that worked for me in sales in different cities. And one of the guys, I complimented him and say, look, you out there in Houston right now, you're doing a great job out there. We called them Buckets. Hey, you killing out there, Buckets. And he was the top guy in Houston for that year. The top guy in Austin was right there next to him. And said he wouldn't do that in Austin. Houston's the easier market.
Oh.
2 hours later, a little bit of alcohol, they squab on the basketball court. Not that it matters. One guy was black, one guy was white. Not that that matters. But they squab on the basketball court. Now, some might say, hey, James, it's kind of messed up that you complimented that guy and that fight broke out. They might think that me doing that incited the violence.
I can see that.
As the guy who's managing a team, that's my role to inspire. And when I scold them and they're doing something wrong, so I got to make sure that my recognition that I provide for them is just as loud as the scolding. I'm not going to apologize for that. Even if my comment was partly the cause, the effect. The cause that gave us that effect of that eventual fight. But really, it's the strife and envy and bitterness within them. The insecurities within them that caused that. So again, sometimes people might want you to apologize, but I'm not apologizing for that. I'm not to blame for something like that. What's the next comment we got?
I think that's the end of that segment. We'll get right back into the video though. This is
what else we got?
I believe this is the pivot.
So audience, what we're covering right now is Andrew Shultz made some comments. These guys right here on the Andrew Shultz podcast, and they were talking about Black Girl Magic. Black Girl Magic being this idea that Black women, whenever they get with non-Black men, perhaps even Black men who may not be culturally, stereotypically Black, as far as getting the artificial hair, shape up to edge up to the line like I have here, or getting the beard a certain way and getting the fade a certain way, even dressing in a certain manner that's typical for a lot of Black men and Black culture to dress. If they make people that are outside of that culture dress like that, they call it Black Girl Magic. She upgraded you. Again, that's a bold claim in front of the rest of society. Internally, I would agree. Like, look, I think whatever his name was, Travis Kelce looked better when I saw the old pictures versus he looked like the Jim Carrey and Me, Myself, and Irene. And when he's with
he said Jim Carrey.
You can tell I don't follow a lot of this pop culture things, but I do care about the relevance of it when it comes to how we think about things. If we're being fair, we're being reasonable, we're not being unbiased. So when it came to how she's dealing with how they're dealing with the Black Girl Magic situation with him, that's your opinion that's magical. So you might think there's no magic about it. There's no hocus pocus here. And that's fine. We don't have to agree on garb. We don't have to agree on style. We don't have to agree on fashion. Some people like the artificial edge up look, making the line more straight than it really is. Some people don't. I used to see Denzel in his movies rocking the natural hairline. It just looked funny to me. But he rocked it with confidence and eventually caught the bad guy. And he got the girl. I ain't mad at him.
That's good.
Go ahead.
No, I said that's a good breakdown to let women know when you're saying it's Black magic, you're putting yourself out there, not only for critiques, jokes, all of that. When you put yourself on the main stage and saying I'm this and I'm that, you open yourself up to these type of remarks,
That's Law 46. That's let another praise you, not your own lips. Whenever you put yourself out there as I'm that person, I'm magical, I'm a diva, I'm a boss chick, I'm divine, with men as well. Men understand if you walk into a place and you start bragging on yourself and putting yourself out there like I'm good at this, I'm good at that, people are gonna be like, now you gotta prove it. One thing when I train people in sales, one thing I teach them is this right here. Don't tell the customer this is a great product. Say great things about the product. If you tell the customer that it's great, they will mismatch you. They ain't that great to me. I'm sure there's other great ones out here like that. Not everybody, but psychologically people like to mismatch. If you're gonna put yourself out there and brag, so people are gonna be like, well, you gotta prove it, you gotta show it now. If you just would have said great things about the product, this product's been around for a long time. It's made from the finest material. It's very rare. You can't find this everywhere. People will think, oh, that's a great product. Whose stocks are they gonna trust? Theirs or your own. There are some people that see Black culture and see how we dress and our style and our fashion and how we and they say, man, that's really nice. I would like to look like that. But if you try to shove it down their throat and tell them this is magical, this is amazing, this is great, on the world stage, people are gonna be like, I ain't impressed.
Yep.
You overpromise and under-delivering on a subjective topic. And you're not wrong for doing so. Psychologically, you're bringing more attention to yourself. Not everybody gonna like that. It goes back to American Gangster. Whenever he had that chinchilla on, whatever that kind of coat he had on, right?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
It looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Now they watching you. Why he got that coat? Who's this guy with this coat?
Mm-hmm. That's good, bro.
I think they say never outshine the master. I'm not saying the outshine the master principle applies a one-to-one correlation right here, because there's no master. You know, if ladies want to get their guys, you know, more fashionable in the black context, nothing wrong with that. But the principle is this: when you are shining, and especially if you're alluding to, suggesting on some in some kind of way, even to a small extent, this is magical, this is grand, this is better than the other. That's competitive talk. That's how competitors speak. Whether you're a male or you're a female, that's how competitors speak. And people who are competitive, they're ready to get busy. Nothing wrong with that. If you're down for it, if you want the competition, keep saying that. If you want to have special treatment, if you want to stay out the way, don't say anything positive about yourself. You don't got to deal with any haters. I hate to say haters. That has a negative connotation. Well, it's actually just kind of a negative denotation on that. But so I'd say, well, hey, there's some things that we should hate, but I don't get distracted from the point. So my point is saying that you're going to bring about yourself competition. People are going to be looking at you through a microscope at that point. I got to see what's so grand. I got to see what's so great. We got next, Enos.
Yourself in position to where you do have to make a stand. You have to make a decision of how you're going to behave, whether it be on your show or somebody else's. James Duncan and Fahad Duwanu, who have a very popular podcast in the UK, and it does like relationships, they read tweets and about stories. They were sitting with Andrew Shultz, and they started talking about the black woman effect. And they were mostly talking about, like in the Travis Kelce case, right? The fade, the beard, stuff like that. And Andrew Shultz said it's a defense mechanism. And he said, you know, because you might get beat. And he also said that some of what they did was in protection because they were always complaining. And the other two, the two black men just sat and laughed. I think they've taken a lot of backlash for that. Obviously, Andrew Shultz had taken backlash for it. What are your thoughts on being in that sort of situation and how to handle it?
I would first say, you know, I've dabbled in the comedic side of things, and you push the envelope with that. But with that, I don't know how y'all feel. I've never heard of the black woman effect, because that's all I've dated. So I don't know if there's a white woman effect, Indian woman effect, Asian woman effect. But to speak on black women like that, that's all I was raised around. That's all I've ever dated. That's all I know. That's all my, you know, all I've been married to. Obviously, only been married once. But there are certain things you can't do. And so with Schultz, it doesn't have to be combative and fighting and getting back and crazy. But I think those dudes should have pushed back. I think maybe that culture, the European black dude culture, might be different than ours. But when I did see it, it upset me, because the whole thing about, argumentative black women and all this stuff, I think it's a stigma that people put on black women, put on my black sisters, put on my wife, put on my black family members, that I don't like.
Right.
I like a strong woman. If some dudes can't deal with a strong woman and they say that's argumentative or combative, then go get you a weak woman, go get you a do-girl. But that's what I'm saying. If you're saying that, I'll push back and say, you don't want a strong woman. You don't want somebody that can run things. You want somebody that can push back. You want somebody that's opinionated. You just want a yes woman. And I can't deal with nobody with a West woman. So I do think it was cultural when I saw it and saw them European dudes. I think they're built different than American black dudes are. And I don't know how y'all feel about it. And I do think I felt a certain way about them disrespecting the black women that I love and that I know.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you, Chan. I just want to say, I believe those guys were just happy to be in that moment. Andrew Schultz, maybe in their eyes, is a big get, right? We've had some huge people or guests on our show that we still challenge them. Like, we still ask them questions. I believe when he made a reference to black women, I don't think he should have been in a position to say that. I'm usually a fan of of Schultz. I mean, I think I like his comedy style. He's usually pretty creative. I think in that particular moment, he shouldn't have spoke on another race in that manner, right? There's some truth in comedy. I think a lot of comedians hide behind what they really feel and want to say and chop it up as a joke. In this particular instance, it's not a joke. Like, we take that serious. There have been plenty of times where RC said, you know, hey, we have to protect black women. You know, I want to protect all women, but certainly because I was raised by a black woman and I know their plight. You know, I know that they're a devil minority for a reason. Like, the challenges that they face and the stuff that they've gone through, not simply just from society, but being the highest percentage of a single parent. You know, the black women, they go through hell. And we have to find the best means of protecting them. And that's even in this particular moment, you know, speaking to a comedian as Andrew Shultz, who, again, I thought it's a dope comedian, right? I like his creativity and comedy, but don't say that, man. You can't do that. Don't do our women like that. Like, if it's going to be done, let the women do it. Let them say they're tough, and let them say they hold their men accountable. There's not necessarily a place for you to turn that into a joke. That's my 2 cents on it. I don't want to dive deeper into it, but this bad timing for you, and hopefully it's only a joke, and we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I think the first thing is, when you think about the two podcasters from the UK, is we don't know if the Black experience there is the same as the Black experience for African Americans or Black people that grew up in America. I'm sure to be on this media tour in the US and to sit with Andrew Shultz was a big thing for them. I don't care if it was a big thing. And in addressing Andrew Shultz, who I do think is funny, who sits with Charlemagne and has some of these discussions about the culture, I believe he got too comfortable. So I'd like to explain some things to him. I want to explain to him the Black experience, the Black woman experience from my point of view. It was watching my mother start from a bank teller and work her way up for decades to run her own collateral department, only to be mistreated when the bank was sold to another bank, and be so sick on Sunday that I finally had to say, hey, Mom, you're old enough to retire. It was to see her go to that same job 8 to 5 to be treated anyway that she had to be treated because she only had a high school diploma, and then find ways to not only feed me, but do homework with me and my brother, take us to practice because my dad worked 3 jobs. That was the first Black woman experience that I had. Right. The second Black woman experience I had is marrying a Black woman and watching her sleep on my cot as doctors try to figure out why I'm 140 pounds and I'm a 30-year-old man who was 205 pounds a month before that. Her telling me months after that she would just go in the bathroom and cry every night in the hospital because she didn't want me to worry about her because I was so sick. Right. For her to hold my family together so I could be in the household with my children when I was doing things and I wasn't shit. That's the Black woman experience. The Black woman experience is Black women caring so much about the nuclear Black family, Black women taking care of young Black men to teach them how to be leaders, to teach them how to be strong, to teach them how to care about their God, about their family, and it's about their communities, and to raise their young Black women to be independent enough to take care of themselves, but to understand how to support a family, how to support a man, while also understanding how to get it on your own. That's the Black woman experience that I know. The reason that Black women are tough is because when you're mistreated in the way that Black women are, if you're not tough, you just die off, you don't survive. That's the Black woman experience. And the other piece of it is too, is something that I've learned, and I learned it from Black women, is people feel so comfortable disrespecting them because we don't respect them publicly, right? White people for so long have used the excuse, why can't I say the N-word when you say that to yourselves or call yourself that or use that in your music, which is bullshit, right? Or white people have said, if you're using the B word, or they say, if you're using the B word, why can't I call them that? That's bullshit as well, right? That's excuses to be certain things and be disrespectful when you shouldn't be. So when you're sitting across from Andrew Shultz and he's talking about an experience that he can't understand because his wife is not Black, you don't have the right to talk about it. You don't have the right to speak on something that you don't know, right? And to make a joke about what the experience is one thing if you're talking about haircuts and you're talking about clothing and you're talking about beards, or you're comparing what our friend Travis Kelce looked like when he was with Kayla Nicole to what he looks like now that he's with Taylor Swift, right? That is part of it. You start to assimilate to the people around you. What you're not going to do, though, is be disrespectful and say you have to develop a defense mechanism because of alleged violence. Black women aren't violent. Black women don't just walk around to beat people or to be angry or to be treated a certain way. No. Black women, to me, were the entire front line of the Alton Sterling protest when he died, when he was killed by cops in Louisiana. Black women are on the front lines of everything that's about us. Black women understood that they had to take a back seat because as we were fighting for rights in our country, that we as men were going to be able to get through the door before they were. So they decided to push us forward and give us ideas and give us help and give us support and be our biggest cheerleaders because they knew we'll have an opportunity to get in the door first. The problem is so many times now we're getting in those doors and we aren't reaching back and bringing them through that same door with us. And this is just another example of that. So whoever is Andrew Shultz's Black friend, Charlemagne, you're his Black friend, sit him down, talk to him, tell him what the Black woman experience truly is, because he ain't married to one and he's obviously never been around enough of them to know how strong, how beautiful, how independent they can be while also being supportive, how much Black women have done to create this entire world that we all live in and the way that they've poured in it. I'd rather be upset, but I know if I'm upset and I'm loud, that just plays into the same angry Black woman trope to the Black man trope that he wants us to depict. And I refuse to give him that joy.
I'm trying to see where I started right here. So I think, so it's the video starts off. So before I'm gonna let the audience know where we at right now before we get back into it. So where we're at right now is you have the Pivot show is addressing Andrew Shultz saying, making a joke. So me just start from the context. There's guys on Andrew Shultz podcast. They're saying, talking about the Black girl effect, Black girl magic, whatever they said, that Black women take men who are non-Black and up their fashion game, their look game, with how they do their beard, the artificial hairlines, the fades, how the clothes, how they, all those kind of things. And they take them to the next level and make them look real good. So when Travis Kelce was with the other girl, the black girl, he was dressing sharp, looking good. He's with Taylor Swift now. He's fell off. I personally think he looks like Jim Carrey from Me, Myself, and Irene. You know, but again, that's my opinion. And even if that's true, to say one look is better than the other is going to be subjective, depending upon what type of style you like. But anyways, so they make the comment about black girls making men, you know, men that are non-black look better. Andrew and the guys on the show are speaking favorably about black women. Andrew Shultz says, no, they're doing that because they got that beard because they don't want to get hit and this, that, and the other. So he mismatches it. They said something really good. They said something really bad. He says he makes a joke at black women's expense. Pivot is addressing what he said. And the guys end up apologizing who were on this show. These guys are addressing what was said. So they're attacking Shultz. Before I want to get to that part right there about them attacking Shultz, I just want to say back to the mismatching thing. They said something nice, Andrew said something bad. Whenever a different group of guys was on Andrew Shultz podcast, they were saying things that we can say is bad about black women. So what did Andrew Shultz and his team do? Said something good. They defended black women on that show. Again, the common psychological aspect of being human, people tend to mismatch. I had a homeboy. I told him, hey, look, this movie was fire. I just got done watching this movie. This movie was fire. You got to see this movie. He'd be like, man, you probably hyping it. He goes see the movie. He'd be like, it was good, but you hyped it. If I see a movie, man, that movie was trash. Never want to see that movie again. He'll see the movie. Like, he was tripping, man. That movie was good. So I had to start changing how I brought it up to him if I wanted to see the movie. If I saw the movie, like, well, how was it? You check it out for yourself, man. I mean, you know, I think it might have been cool. I'm still not sure about it. I got to go see it. If I thought the movie was bad, I'd be like, I don't know, man. You just got to see it for yourself. I put a look on my face. Like, I don't know, man. You got to see it for yourself. And then he'll watch it. But that movie was terrible. He's a mismatcher. Didn't mean nothing bad by it. He's just a mismatcher. Those of us in sales, you learn. Some customers are mismatch. You say this is great, that's your opinion. You say that looked bad. I've seen worse. That's human psychology. A certain percentage of the population is going to do that, especially if you're making yourself saying, I'm the greatest, I'm the best. Yeah, all right, you was cool. Somebody talking about playing basketball. Oh, I was the coldest. You ain't winning the league. You just said I was all right. No, he's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, man. He's pretty good. That's just human nature. Right, wrong, or indifferent, that's human nature. So if you're gonna put yourself out there, the black girl effect, black girl magic, whatever it is, somebody's gonna be like, that ain't magic. That's voodoo. That's hoodoo. That's what they're gonna do. Getting into what these guys said right here for the audience. So we got on the Pivot show, they're talking about giving pushback against Shultz. And he said, this is a stigma being imposed on black women. This, you know, black women being violent, black women being verbally assaulting, or black women being very contentious verbally. A stigma that's being imposed on them. That's what he said. It's not true. It's not being imposed on them. It's a stereotype. Like all stereotype, there's some truth to it. It doesn't mean it's true for every single individual. Perhaps it could be more true in one particular culture, another culture. If you line up all the cultures in the world, from emo culture to subcultures, all the different kind of cultures you could imagine, they're not going to be equal in every way. Some are going to be more competitive. Some are going to be smarter. Not because they're genetically smarter, but because they value smarts more than the other group. I don't know if you've seen the movie Divergent and all those movies where they broke people up into the brights and all other groups. They had a certain focus. They got better at those things. Some cultures care more about cooking. Some cultures care more about studying. Some cultures care more about dance. They're going to be gifted in those areas at a higher rate. Not that other cultures don't have it, but they may be comparatively deficient are relatively deficient comparatively. That's okay. It's just fine. So you got to understand these are the different dynamics that we're working with as social beings, being with other people. That being the case, if you in your media, depict yourself as being more violent, being more contentious, people might identify you that way. Look at our music. Look at our music videos. If you were to get a country songs, rock songs, bluegrass songs, blues, jazz, hip hop, and you just were to play 10 songs at random in every group and write down the contents of those songs, which one's going to have the most violence in it? Is it even close? Does that make every single song in that genre violent? Of course not. It just means on average they're a little bit more violent than other ones. Not all violence is bad. A lot of the violence we do see in hip-hop music is bad. Not all of it. Some of it's self-defense. So you got to understand this. You got to be objective about this. You can't have confirmation bias, which is, well, I'm going to have a bias towards what I want to believe is what's going on. So I'm going to look for things that confirm what I already want to believe. Anything that disconfirms what I believe, I'm going to disregard that. That's alternative facts. No, you can't do that. So the stigma imposed on Black women, though, most of the stereotypes you see out in the world about any group of people are earned in some kind of way, especially if it's big enough. If the stereotype is big enough, it's typically earned. That's just the reality of it. Now, opinionated, strong women. So the guy was talking about, the light-skinned dude with the braids is saying, you know, Black women are strong and opinionated. And another guy later on said, ask our women if they're tough. So one guy's calling Black women strong. The other guy says, well, you calling our women tough, ask them if they're tough. Well, check if you wanted those guys to not laugh at Andrew Shultz joke and to check Andrew Shultz and defend Black women, why you didn't do it just now with your own homeboy in your own show? He just called Black women strong. You just ask Black women if they're tough. Tough is synonymous with strong. The hypocrisy is already taken place. Your boy just said strong. You said ask them if they're tough. So you can't expect those guys to correct Andrew Shultz for making a joke about Black women. You're not even correcting your homeboy that you do a show with every single week. That's a stranger they're dealing with. You're dealing with somebody you talk to every day and make jokes with and match wits with every single day. And you didn't correct him. Where's the fairness in that? I'm about being objective. I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong. I think it's all just fun and games and good information. But we got to call a spade a spade. So he's talking about being opinionated. Nothing wrong with a woman being opinionated, a man being opinionated. Again, we're speaking loosely. I'm not faulting them. I'm going to nitpick their words here, but I'm not faulting them for their words necessarily. People speak loosely. But any men typically don't have a problem with women being opinionated. It's how you go about displaying that opinion, how you go about conducting yourself in the conversation with the difference of opinions. I can be conversing with somebody that I completely disagree with and even find their opinion somewhat offensive. They may never know it unless I choose to display it while I'm expressing my disagreements with them. Well, you said over here, this right here, I really don't think that makes sense given blah, 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 blah. Your premises right here was this. This is your premise, and then later on, this is your conclusion. These two, that's not a valid form of argumentation right there. I can express a difference of opinion without being contentious with somebody. That's what people's problem is. If we disagree, let's have a mature conversation about it. Let's stick to the topic. Let's not assume that we're right in the conversation. Obviously, I know you believe it or you wouldn't be arguing with me. But just because you believe it strongly and your resolve is on 10 doesn't absolve you from having to explain it to me to where I can understand it. Yes, you're going to have to explain. If you know something, knowledge, to know is justified, true belief. Belief because it's an idea. That's what that part means. True meaning you can't know something that's not true. I can't know that Barack Obama was the first president because it didn't happen. I can believe that. I can think that. I can't know that. And then justify. Remember in math class you had to show your work? Remember that? Anybody who had kids, your kids can memorize what words look like. So now you're thinking they're reading better, but really they just memorize the words. You got to switch the words out for words that are on a similar level so they can use their phonics and sound out the words, because you want them to know how to read, not be just memorize what the words look like. That's justifying. Same thing in math class. I need you to show me how you got this problem. A lot of us did math in our head. Still had to show your work. Because for a lot of us, as that formula got longer, as the math problems got a little bit more comprehensive, a little bit more rigorous, what happened? You may not be able to do them in your head at that point. So if you didn't know how to do the formulas, utilize the formulas, if you didn't know how to do the math, you were going to be out of there. So your teacher protected you from your own self, your own gift of being able to do it in your head by saying, hey, look, that's cool, but the math will get more advanced than that. I'm going to need you to know how to do the math. You need to work this out. Order of operation, whatever it is, you got to figure it out. Same thing goes for this. You got to be explaining your point. Being opinionated is cool. You got to be able to express your point in a mature way. If they're not getting it, they disagree, it may be you're not explaining your point right. That goes for everybody. It is better to debate an issue without settling it than to settle an issue without debating it. The man who presents his case first seems right, till somebody comes and cross-examines them. To be open to cross-examination. A lot of times when people call somebody opinionated, they're really saying this person has a lot of resolve about certain propositions, but they are obstinate, they're stubborn, they're easily offended, but they still want to impose what they think is true into the situation, and they want you to act in accordance with that without having explained it thoroughly or explained it in a compelling way, without the assumption that they're right. So that's what's typically going on. So it depends what he means by opinion. Nothing wrong with being opinionated. Part of what some people lament about communication between people who are unreasonable, women in general, whether regardless of the color, and men can be like this too, is the fact that they don't explain themselves. They get overly invested into the result of the conversation, which is the result they want, instead of the process or the journey of the conversation. I need you to treat me with respect. I need you to listen to what I'm saying, listen to respond as I listen to, not listen to respond as I don't listen to respond. I listen to understand. Gain an understanding before you expect to be understood. These kind of principles right here will soften the blow of somebody expressing a potentially offensive disagreement with you, opinion with you. Another point that he made. Schultz shouldn't be in a position to say that. So when Schultz, and I want our audience to remember, we're talking about right now is a white comedian made comments about black women. They were talking about black women effect, where they get non-black men to dress better, have nicer hairdos and beards and all that kind of stuff. And so the comedian made a joke, was like, those guys got those beards because those women be hitting them, and they be arguing with them or whatever. Whatever he said. Some people didn't find that funny, which is okay. You don't have to find every joke funny. Some took it offensive. That's a bit of a stretch. He shouldn't be in a position to say that. Comedians are going to make jokes. That's their freedom of speech. They make fun of everybody. Whites, blacks, Indians, Asians, women, men, lesbian, gay, straight, whatever you want to say, they're going to make fun of it. You should show yourself to be a mature person by being not take yourself so seriously. You can laugh at yourself. When you can do that, people feel more comfortable around you. If you want people to treat you with kid gloves and, oh, don't touch them because they're, are they strong? If they're strong, they can take criticism. They can take a joke. So you can't want to say they're strong and resilient, then say this joke is too much to bear. You got to pick one. You got to pick a side on that. I come from a line of women who are very funny, can take a joke with the best of them. Better than a lot of men that I know. Don't treat them with kid gloves. They're gonna be all right. Not a joke. Again, I already addressed this earlier. Them saying it wasn't a joke. A joke can be not. You can have a joke that's not funny, a joke that's funny. That's it. They're both jokes. The late great Patrice O'Neal said this on Fox News because he made a joke that people found to be inappropriate. And whether you think it was inappropriate or not, he made a comment that was really good. A lot of comedians resonate with this. He says, good and bad jokes come from the same place. Even the guy on the show admits it. He goes, hey, look, part of being a comedian is pushing the boundaries on things. That's the reality of it. You push the boundaries on things. And so sometimes you may go too far. That's the reality. Those of us who speak for a living, whether you're in sales, you're a comedian, whatever it is, we push the boundaries on things. Sometimes we go too far to other people. Sometimes we didn't go far enough. That's the reality of it. Next point. This is what we get into when we got to start talking about these fallacies. Again, this show is about critical thinking. It's not a show of me just over here blabbering and saying things, expressing my opinion. It's about critical thinking and logic. It's about ethos as well as the logos. Being ethical, being fair, thinking about other people. So he said being raised by a black woman. And then Ryan Clark, I'll address both their comments at the same time because they're both going to their perspectives and experience with black women. Obviously, Andrew Shultz has probably, presumably been around Charlamagne's wife. He's been around black women before. So he says, if he has a black friend, get him around some black women, tell him about black women. As I've already said, he's already defended black women in a previous show where there's two black men who said they don't date black women. And he didn't find that to be a good response or a good perspective to have. He thought it was a little unfair, the way that they were depicting the black women. So in that sense, he defended them. Not just him, but other people he had on the show. So what you see consistent is, as I said before, he's a mismatcher. You say something positive, he gonna make a joke a negative way. When those guys said something negative, he made jokes and non-jokes saying, no, I think you're missing the boat on this one. I don't think it's right for you to say those things. That being the case, goes back to human nature. People want there to be a balance. You're not so magical or your effect's not so great that you're above jokes. And if somebody's not so low that I'm going to let you just step on them, I'm going to defend them. That's what Andrew Shultz has displayed. Both sides of the pendulum. So that saying raised by black women, again, y'all, we got to understand what's called the anecdotal fallacy. Anecdotal fallacy. I don't know if you're there, or not. But I guess I'm assuming.
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You gonna put the anecdotal fallacy up?
I'm on it right now.
So y'all, we're gonna put up the anecdotal fallacy. There's a few fallacies on here that we're gonna have to cover. Appeal to emotion fallacy, composition, division fallacy. Again, what is a fallacy? A fallacy is when somebody is using a line of reasoning that is invalid. It doesn't mean that whatever they believe is true or false. It just means that the form of argumentation they're using is invalid, meaning not logical, not reasonable. There are good ways to make a point and bad ways to make your point. And it's not based off how you feel. It's not based off who you are, what your station is in life, what culture you belong to. It's based off something outside of yourself, a rubric of reason and logic. It's got to make sense. So when these guys are going into anecdotes about how black women have been pillars in their life, as if they have been for me as well. I've had black women that were great to be around. I've had black women that were horrible to be around. I've had black men and white men and Asian men who were great to be around and ones that were not so great to be around. So somebody makes a joke about Asian men, I'm going to bring up a situation where Asian man, made my day. Am I going to laugh at the stereotype and move on with my life? You got it?
Yes, sir. Am I reading that?
I know. I thought I was time for me to take my sip. Okay. Anecdotal fallacy. You use the personal experience or an isolated example instead of a sound argument or compelling evidence to prove your point or to disqualify somebody else's point. It's often much easier for people to believe someone's testimony as opposed to understanding complex data and variation across a continuum. Quantitative scientific measures are almost always more accurate than personal perceptions and experiences. But our inclination is to believe that which is tangible to us and or the word of someone we trust over a more abstract statistical reality. So what that's basically saying is saying that it's so much easier. We tend to take the path of least resistance, aka we can be lazy intellectually at times. So if I don't have, in the absence of data and statistics, we're going to use what we can use, which is our personal experience. Nothing wrong with using our personal experience when we got to make snap judgments. The issue is whenever you start to prove or disprove perspectives and opinions based off of your experience, your limited experience. You're one person out of over 8 billion people on this earth. Somebody might be like, hey, look, I love pigs. You know, every time I've been around a pig licks me on my face and tells me how beautiful I am. That doesn't mean every pig around the world is doing that. So if you were to say, I think pigs should be allowed everywhere, there's no safety concerns because I never had an issue with pigs before, that'd be a fallacious way of reasoning. You're choosing a lazy way out of using your limited experience. It's called the anecdotal fallacy, instead of taking into consideration that people might have experiences that are different than yours. Instead, it'd be better to do a study, a survey would be better, and even better than that, maybe do a study. So that's what the anecdotal fallacy is. These guys are using their own experience as proof that what Andrew Shultz said is negative towards Black women, and he doesn't understand Black women. That's not true. It's a joke. You go to any Black comedian and listen to them do their comedy, they're going to clown everybody with all the stereotypes. I mean, how many times have we seen a Black comedian and somebody's Middle Eastern in the crowd and they say, oh, you the bomb, or whatever they may say. Yeah. I'm not making no jokes at you, man. I don't want no problems. You really think I take that sensitively? Yeah. People losing their lives over stuff like that. Of course they can take that the wrong way. And if they did, you understand why, but don't go to the comedy store. Don't be on a comedian's podcast if you don't want jokes, because you're sensitive. You want to be of the community, in the community, embraced by those that the community's pedestalized and put and celebrated. When in Rome, you got to do as. You don't got to go to Rome. But I do say all roads lead to Rome, but I'm not just joking. But so raised by a Black woman. So that's the anecdotal fallacy right there. You can't use, just because you had great experiences with Black women, like a lot of us has. I know Enos has specifically. We all had that. Doesn't mean that Black woman ain't never robbed somebody, slapped somebody upside the head, cursed somebody out. Let's not play dumb. If you're going to tell the story, tell the whole story.
Tell the whole story. I want the truth. And when you said earlier, you said
tell the truth.
When you said mentally lazy, you brought up earlier, what was that, the confirmation bias? I wanted to go over that definition as well. Confirmation bias is not usually intentional. Meaning is the type of implicit bias, right? It's a natural tendency of the way people think. We tend to rely on shortcuts in our mental processing. It is just easier to do that in subjecting our views to contradictory information, which is discomforting. We yield to confirmation bias when reading about politics, such as when selecting articles to read on the internet. And I guess I just read one of the examples over here. Political news. Today, many news stations are expected to curate media that supports the political perspectives of news and organizations owners. I think that's important. You mentioned that earlier. As a culture, us Black people, I think sometimes we can be blinded by our confirmation bias, because any subjects that's pertaining to Black people, we tend to just whatever story that's, especially when it comes to us being victimized, we tend to just go along with that story instead of focusing on the full context of whatever we're reading or whatever we're hearing. You want to touch on that a little bit more?
No, sir.
All right. So, what was the other fallacy? What was it? Emotion? What, appeal to emotion?
I got on here appeal to emotion, and then the composition division fallacy.
There you go. Appeal to emotion. I'm gonna hop out if you want to go ahead and.
So yeah, so the appeal to emotion. So what we're doing right here is I'm addressing the fact that when these guys start going into their personal experiences about dealing with black women, right, which I found pretty heartwarming myself, it is in no way an indication that Andrew Shultz doesn't understand black women or can't relate to black women or that his joke was inappropriate, because he is stepping on people who have done great things for this country and the civil rights struggle, social justice movements. The two are unrelated. For all you know, that Middle Eastern person that the black comedians making fun of at the Comedy Store was somebody that helped, intelligence as a linguist or a translator during the War on Terror. I've listened to shows where guys like that were helping American soldiers in the war zones with translation and helping them to understand the culture so they can successfully complete their missions. That guy might be sitting in that club when the black comedian makes a joke about blowing some stuff up as a terrorist. They got family losing their lives over there in that country.
Yeah.
Do you feel that?
My bad. Hold on, we got some comments. I forgot. Shout out to Help the Bed. What's up? Forgot to mention the comments, but continue, Bo.
That was the only comment we had?
Yeah, that's the only one right now.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, so again, people appeal to your emotion. That's a way of getting you off the topic. So this is what the appeal to emotion is. Again, this shows about being logical. The Vulcans were a logical people. We are called to be logical. Logical not has to do with doing the right things as far as how you reason through something, understanding the science of reason. It also do with your integrity as a human being, to do the right thing, to be fair, to not just choose to believe something because it benefits you or makes you feel better. You want to believe it because it's actually true. So appeal to emotion, you attempted to manipulate an emotional response in place of a valid or compelling argument. So when these guys are telling you about the grandma and all that kind of stuff like that, which I enjoyed those stories, by the way,
yes, sir,
I can't let that sway me to their opinion. I can't assimilate or assume their position in the conversation, their perspective, just because of their heartwarming story. You can have a heartwarming story and be wrong. You got to make a better argument. They got to make better arguments for what they're saying. If they said, you can't do that to our women. Okay, who's going to be police on that? If everybody starts saying you can't do that to our women, what's going to happen? You have guys walking up on comedians, slapping them in the middle of their stand-up bit. Oh, wait, we already there.
Uh-oh.
Y'all, that ain't right. He apologized for that. He was wrong. For all of you who defended him and doing that kind of stuff and saying he was right, he said he was wrong. He just said that because of the pressure. Then he has no integrity. I feel like Tupac right now. How do you want it? How do you want it? Either he had no integrity, he's manipulating people with false apologies, or he really did mean what he said and he was wrong, and you were over there defending somebody who admitted, like, what I did was wrong. And my relationship with that person may be irreparable. Going back to the point, appeal to emotions.
Well, that first line is so interesting too.
Sorry, say it again.
That first line, appeals to emotion, includes appeals to fear, envy, hatred, pity, pride, and more. That's deep. That's heavy, man. That's heavy.
It's important to note that sometimes a logically coherent argument may inspire emotion or have an emotional aspect, but the problem and fallacy occurs when emotion is used instead of a logical argument, or to obscure the fact that no compelling rational reason exists for one's position. So the thing about this right here, it's going to be hard to they're trying to make an argument as to why black women should not get made fun of.
Based on how they grew up with their mothers.
How they grew up and what they've done for this country. Then nobody should get made fun of. Then everybody has somebody in their people group that's done some stuff for the country. Most of all, white people. Why? They make up over 60% of the population. Just by sheer numbers, they do a lot more for the country. That's not getting into per capita and percentage and blah, 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 all that kind of stuff right there. So anyway, let them say they're tough. He's saying let them speak for themselves. Let Andrew Shultz speak for himself. You talk about Andrew Shultz. Let him say that he was being insensitive. Let him say that he was putting black women in a disparaging light and wasn't just making a joke. You're speaking on his behalf. Why can't he speak on somebody else's behalf? Then we get into the N-word, B-word thing. This is more of an aside because it's not the purpose of the show necessarily, but he goes, just like when white people say, why can't I use the N-word if you use the N-word? That's a legitimate question. We got to get out of this mentality that we don't have to address certain questions.
He said that was BS. He didn't even address it. He said that's
He
BS.
didn't even address it, which we know is BS. Just because you're an echo chamber and people around you agree with you that it's BS doesn't mean it's actually BS. You have to come up with an argument why it's BS. I don't even know what you mean by BS. But, you know, as far as the conversation goes, are you saying that there's no good reasons? Are you saying that their intentions are foul when they're asking the question? How can you judge their intentions? They tell you, hey, my intentions are foul. Why can y'all use the N-word? Black people got to understand, and that one of the coolest words in the lexicon is the N-word, because the most popular form of music is replete with that word within the confines of its transcripts and lyrics. That being the case, people who are fans of that genre are going to want to say the words in the music. One of the most repetitive words in the hip hop is the N-word. That being the case, they want to know why they can't say it. Hey, if I don't have an ill will in my heart, why can't I say that word? If I'm saying it because my favorite musician, the person I look up to the most in this world, is using that word in this particular song, why can't I say it? Some black folks don't even want you to say it in the privacy of your own home. Not all. Some don't want you to say it in the privacy of your own home. A victimless crime. Still can't say it. Now, do I feel uncomfortable when people that are non-black people say the N-word? Heck, I feel uncomfortable when anybody says the N-word, to be truthfully. I don't really like to use the word. Haven't really used it in a long time, unless I'm quoting somebody or something. But I get the feel that that doesn't feel the same. Some of us have grown up around non-black people that were raised in our culture. The local color, the colloquialisms, they use a lot of the similar slang. Some of them even use the N-word. And I remember being from where I'm from, black people move from where they're from to come where I'm from, and they'll be like, y'all let them use the N-word here? Are you going to police all that? What's wrong with them saying the word? And they're like, no, they're not black. Saying they're not black can be the beginning of your argument, but you're not finished yet. You haven't really said anything yet. All you do is state what they're not. So you're going to say they're not black, so therefore they can't say it. Okay, there's some hidden premise in here somewhere. What is them not being black to do not being saying the word? Well, the historical context. Whatever they're going to use. Then we get in that conversation. You will have to explain yourself. You're not getting out of this easy. You're not going to be able to just huff and puff and threaten and assume people are going to bow down to you. That only works for so long. The tough guys don't work for so long. I saw a quote that said, don't get loud, make better arguments. Mm-hmm. So when he's saying it's BS, okay, it's BS. Why is it BS? Or do you want us to have groupthink and just say it's BS because you said it's BS? You say it's BS, they say it's not BS. And they got a crowd of people that say it's not BS with them. Are we going to go by who has the biggest crowd? Explain why it's BS. Haven't heard it yet. He said excuses to be, this is Ryan Clark saying excuses to be disrespectful. I don't understand what he's mean by excuses to be disrespectful. The guy made a joke. You don't have to agree with the joke. You don't have to find the joke necessarily tasteful. He didn't make an excuse. People got to hear this. Even I remember I was growing up, people say, you're making excuses. Excuses is me asking to be excused from the consequences of my behavior for whatever reason. Andrew Shultz wasn't doing that. He was saying, I'll accept the full blunt of whatever y'all gonna give to me for what I did, and I stand on it. Giving a justification is to make right. Excuse, say, hey, I want to be absolved. Or I'm asking you to lessen the blow. I don't want the full penalty for my actions. I'm asking you to excuse my behavior. I don't want any penalty, whatever degree of excuse they want to have. If somebody stands on it and explains why they did it, they could very well be not excusing themselves. They could be saying, and I stand on it. I'm justified. I mean, it's right. I'm making it right. I'm explaining to you why it's right that I did that, or at least that it's not wrong. So you got to keep that in mind when it comes to people talking about excuses. We tend to use words so loosely that we don't really understand what they mean. A lot of times when we have these cliches, we say them so much we don't even know what it means anymore. He says doesn't have the right, right, because he has a white wife. Y'all, that's called the genetic fallacy. Genetic fallacy. We getting that one up, Yes,
sir. Give me a feel.
So the thing is when he's saying you have a white wife, you can't talk. Y'all, this is a recipe for disaster. Think about things outside of the race conversation. I make fun of Coca-Cola. Why you making fun of Coca-Cola? You have Pepsi in your fridge. People make jokes about redheads. People make jokes about people being short. People make jokes for all kinds of stuff. You see some about short kings and whatever. How you gonna call somebody a short king when your dad is 6'6", or your husband 6'6", or your boyfriend 6'6", or your brother 6'6"? Where is this gonna end? You got guys flipping tables over their height, getting mad because they're getting overlooked because of their stature. It's not funny to them all the time, and we tell them, "Hey, chill out. You're taking yourself too seriously." Yeah, life can suck sometimes, but you're at a comedy show. You're talking to a comedian. You gotta make jokes. So, y'all, this is the genetic fallacy. You got to really understand this. This is a very common one. Right now, it's the Halloween season. You're gonna see a lot of genetic fallacies going into play. People saying you shouldn't celebrate this pagan holiday, or you shouldn't do this because of its origins, and this, and this, and this. All of this is linked to what's called the genetic fallacy. So the genetic fallacy, the description is basing the truth claim of an argument on the origin of its claims or premises. Premises. I say premises, don't I? Logical form. So logical form. The origin of the claim is presented. Therefore, the claim is true or false. So somebody will say, it came from this. So that means it's bad. So they gave an example, and because this one is such a prevalent fallacy, I really want to read the example. I don't read the example all the time, but I really want the audience to really glean from this and grasp this concept here. Lisa was brainwashed as a child into thinking that people are generally good. Therefore, people are not generally good. Just because somebody came to arrive at a certain idea for nefarious reasons or whatever you want to say does not mean that that particular belief that they have is false. Somebody could strap you down to a bed at 4 years old and tell you that 2 + 2 is 4. It doesn't follow that 2 + 2 is not 4 because somebody strapped you to a bed. You can't base the truth of a claim on its origin and ignore its current context and or meaning. So again, when he's saying he don't have a white wife, so he can't say anything, that's genetic fallacy. Wow. Now, if you want to, if you want to say his experience with black women is more limited than mine, given the fact that he's not black, he didn't have a black wife, and he didn't grow up, and he didn't have a lot of exposure to a black context. That's a fair thing to say. You may be assuming that about him, but if what you're saying is true, it could be true that he has less experience than you. But less experience doesn't guarantee that he's wrong and you're right. People with more experience are wrong sometimes. So again, genetic fallacy. We got to be logical. We got to be fair-minded. Appreciate him standing up for us. He's talking about, you got to appreciate people standing up, people standing up for. I mean, I'm not knocking standing up for them. I think it's great if they want to give their anecdotal situations about Black women that have done great things for them and the country at large. That's perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with a balance. Like I just got done saying, if I said something negative, I said something positive. Andrew Shultz said something negative as a joke. What they do, they say something positive. That's how stuff goes. That's fair. Nothing wrong with that. But if you're going to say, don't talk about our women, people are going to talk about your women more. What happened when Will Smith did what he did to Chris Rock? What all the other comedians do to Will Smith and Jada Pinkett? They started cracking on him, jiving on him.
Yeah.
Depending upon what part of the country you in, you resonate with.
Them jokes got more intense.
Huh?
Them jokes got more intense.
Jokes got more intense. It's like somebody be like, hey, if y'all don't pick me up, you can't play with my ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now the next time you come out there with your ball, you're gonna be like, we're gonna bring another ball. Be like, we don't need to play with you now. We got our own ball. Sit over there by yourself. There's healthy ways to negotiate, and there's unhealthy ways to negotiate. If you coerce, if you try to intimidate, that's escalation of force starts. Now you got to prove you bought that action. And as Deion Sanders said, his mom told him, son, there's always somebody out there badder than you. But truthfully, I'm more of the mind of Deion Sanders. He goes, but mama, somebody's got to be the baddest. So you better hope you're the baddest. So Black women aren't violent. Obviously, again, saying Indian people, Asian people, Black men, Black women aren't violent. Black people we have a culture of violence. Make no mistake about that. The number one cause of death for me is homicide. So that's a real thing. Vulcan Soapbox. When he talks, also, I mentioned this on the show before. Out of heterosexual couples, gay couples, lesbian couples have the highest rates of domestic abuse. Those aren't all Black women. But women can be violent just like men. And women includes Black women too. So everybody can be violent. But just because they can be violent don't mean all of them are violent. Some people age out of violence. I'm sure people are more violent in their 20s than they are in their 30s and 40s. You can break it up by age, you can break it up by gender, you can break it up by race. There's data on this stuff about who's most violent at what points in time. That's the reality. We live in an age of information and technology. They're tallying everything. Every time somebody call the cops out, they're tallying it. Who did it? What happened? What's going on? It's not a perfect system either, but it don't gotta be perfect. It just gotta be more true than not. For people to make jokes and use stereotypes. So tell him about Black women, upset and loud. So then Ryan Clark ends it with, to me, it's a very corny virtue signaling statement about, like, I was going to take it a certain way, but then I would get loud and upset, and then I'll give him the joy of seeing me act as a stereotypical Black man, or whatever he said. Stop it. That's cap. One Andrew Shultz is above that. If you would have you're a football player, if you get mad and start beating your chest, you're going to think he's playing football again. That's all it is. He's got a retirement. We know how y'all get busy. And that's fine. Y'all got paid to crack people's heads. Audience, be aware of CTE awareness. Tell the truth.
Tell the truth.
If you got upset and loud about that because somebody made a joke of, at the expense of Black women, that just means you soft. I spell it S-O-F-T. I'm a man and I called you soft.
Tread lightly.
Soft. But anyways, for those of y'all seeing life, you get what I'm talking about. But yeah, getting loud about what that guy said would just make you look bad. Have a better argument. Don't get loud, make a better argument. You want to see something nice about black women like you did? You said you spoke eloquently. You expressed yourself about how black women have done all those things. I think that's great. People still going to make fun of them. And we're going to make fun of you. Get over it. People going to make fun of me. I've been on shows and they clown me. Look how big that boy head is. Look at that tight shirt he had on. How you gonna make fun of me? I could have did all that. Or I could have been like, that boy's wild. That one wasn't funny. That one was funny. Whatever. Don't take yourself so seriously. So that's what I got to say about what these guys said. Again, these guys aren't intellectuals. They're football players running the show. They're not dumb men either. I'm not saying just because they're not intellectuals, they're dumb. But the choice of word wasn't that great. And they don't understand the science of explanation, explanatory power, explanatory scope. Your explanation's got to be good. It's got to explain a lot of what we're seeing, a lot of the phenomena we're seeing in this situation. And it's got to be better explanations. And it's got to be explanation with the least amount of assumptions involved. This is the science of explaining something. Look it up when you get a chance, audience. Explanatory power, explanatory scope. We don't got to put that up. But everybody, you got to understand that's what we're dealing with right now. So, all right, so we're done with this right here. We're going to be going to we're done with this whole situation with Andrew Shultz, right, Enos?
Yeah, we're done. Let's get a few comments.
Okay, let's go. Let's get it.
All right, so one of the comments, speaking of appeal to emotion, this made me cry. As a single mom, raising a young son and pushing him through college and giving him everything I got every single day. I'm glad someone sees black women clearly and finally speaks the truth about us.
But see, again, y'all, we got to be fair. We got to be fair. This is called the taxi cab fallacy. You don't got to pull this one up either. Taxi cab fallacy is when you use a certain line of reasoning when, all the way up until it doesn't benefit you when you get off. So somebody be like, man, I can't stand people that interrupt. People that interrupt, they should just leave the conversation. They're disrespectful. They don't blah blah blah. Then you start talking, that person interrupts you. And you'd be like, yeah, I interrupted you. Oh, I interrupted you because that's something I got to say real quick. Well, hold on. I thought you just said people interrupt for this, and this. So interrupting is bad when it doesn't benefit them. The moment it benefits them or they do it, then it's like, oh, but this is different. That's also special pleading. Special pleading. This is the Vulcans out there. This is the science of logic and critical thinking and reasoning. This is more than about smarts. People hearing this, well, these boys smart. They know these terms. It's not about that. The terms, that boy smart. That boy good. That boy good. It's about not being terrible as a person morally.
Yeah.
We learn these logical terms. You may not have learned the terms, but if you can recognize people being illogical and being fallacious when you hear it, it can help arm you and those you care about to know when they're hearing things that are not true. Or maybe it's true, but the arguments are bad. People trying to take advantage of you with good sounding eloquence. There's a lot of charming, bombastic speakers and orators. But just because they can sound good and make you levitate around the room with their amazing stories, their warm, heartfelt stories, their funny stories, their anecdotal situations, their experiences, doesn't mean what they're saying is true. So you got to learn some of these terms at least so you can arm yourself. Learn a term a year, whatever you got to do.
Yes, sir.
Start learning these things.
Definitely a show of empowerment so you can tell the difference between what's truth and what somebody's just babbling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir. The next comment, they should speak up on the alarming amount of single-parent homes in the black communities or increasing crime rates in black communities or at high school, or the high school dropout rates in the black communities. Second comment, please, this blank is so cringe. He's just a lapdog. Wow.
Yeah, I don't have too much to say about this one right here, but all I say is that, again, I'm assuming these people are in response to, again, look, this is y'all see the principle again right here. Ryan Clark, this is what happened. Some guy said something that people consider positive about black women and how their effect is on the aesthetics of non-black men. Andrew Shultz responds by saying something that leveling the playing field. Hey, look, they're just, it's not about them leveling these guys up. They're just got these beards because they want to be able to resist the hit, which is a real thing. There's some signs that suggest, not with the black woman, but there's some signs that suggest that people that have beards were like descendants of warriors. So there is something about being hidden beards in there historically and maybe genetically. But we won't go into all that. It has nothing to do really with black women, but it's an interesting fact. But going back into what he's talking about, he said something. You heard something positive, you hear something negative. Then you hear the guys on the Pivot Show say more positive. And then what this guy does in the comment, let's talk about the black crime and the black this and the black this and the black that. Some of y'all gonna hate and say that's so and so's talking points. Just because you don't like the fact he asked the question, don't mean you shouldn't talk about it. Now you can say their motives are bad, and or you can say they're trying to bring balance. Again, if one group is gonna lift themselves up in front of everybody else, say, "Look at us, look how great we are," somebody else gonna be like, "Not impressed." Look at this. Look at this stuff. We missed the spot. So keep that in mind. That's human nature, right, wrong, and indifferent. I'd argue it's a neutral thing. It's not right or wrong. It just depends how you do it. But whether it's right or it's wrong, people gonna do it if you put yourself out there like that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. So next time we're gonna get into Djvlad.
Right? They act like, oh, Farrakhan, he lied.
That was just part of it. That was just part of it.
Yeah. Okay. But really, he tried to pose himself to me and to Godfrey as friends.
Right. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
And it was one way.
And it was a one-way relationship. Like this nigga would love to brag about the shit that he got and all of that.
Yeah, he did.
But he's not really.
You're still a
trying to give you any opportunity.
You're still a and it's black girls giving him that confidence too.
Opportunity. Oh, well, that's a whole other.
Yeah.
But he thinks his opportunity is just allowing you to be on his show.
Right.
He thinks that's.
Yeah. And he'll go like this in your life. He'll go like this. You know what? Hey, show me. I'm gonna be Vlad. I'm gonna go off camera. Hey,
yeah. So what's up, Vlad?
So let's talk about I mean, you're in hip hop. You're in hip hop, right?
Yeah,
you're in hip hop for a long time. Brand new bands. I mean, you were killing it. So
I said that's a cold impression. Shout out to Godfrey, man. Good one, man. Shout out to Godfrey, man. This is pretty good. Good Vlad impression.
What do you think about today's rappers? Because let me tell you something. I DJ'd for a long time. I DJ'd for a really long time. Really long time, and
really, we never heard you.
But I did like mixtapes for a long time.
All right.
And I made lots. And listen, I made a lot of money. I made lots of money.
Okay.
I made lots of money.
Okay.
And now I'm doing my show, which has 5 million subscribers, and that's the reason why you're on here, because you're trying to get some attention. Anyway,
right.
So what do you think about the state of hip hop? Because I think that there are some artists that are way better than new artists. That's all I'm saying. That's just my opinion. You know what I mean? So I mean, how do you feel about the state of hip hop right now?
Pretty good.
That wasn't bad, right? But
but like, so when he did the whole with Farrakhan and all that,
yes,
he put us in a position where it was like, yo, bro, like, because I feel like I was in a position where I was used to saving this guy from himself a lot of times. When he might be on the wrong, when he might be on the wrong position, I'll be like, yo, Vlad, that's not a good look. You need to do this, and he would do it
as a friend.
He would do it
as
a friend. Like I would try to I would try to counsel him.
Yes,
and he would take the counsel.
Yes,
right. So, and there was times where I gave him counsel where it got him out of super jams. Okay, super jams.
Right.
Super.
I got you.
Right.
I got
you. Where he was ready to offer other people money for their services. And I'm like, I'm the one that gave advice, bro. You're not offering me. Okay. No. But anyway, so when it got with this whole shit, with the Farrakhan shit, it was like, yo, now people is like, yo, your man Vlad, and you be filming on it, you know? And it's like, yo, bro, it's coming at me now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you like the problem. This is a backlashing on me. Your on this is backlashing on me.
Did they give you a call?
People that were doing that?
No.
People
the public.
In general, the whole consensus was, yo, this nigga's disrespecting the minister.
Yeah, but
you are standing with this dude.
You found out earlier than me because during COVID, I was still doing some Vlad interviews, at the crib. And so I got the call from West Coast Cam. Sent me remember Cam? Sent me a video like he said, yo, God, I need to talk to you, man, real quick. Boo, boo. Then I get DMs going, oh, so you gonna keep tap dancing? I'm like, what? I had just I just filmed with Vlad, and I didn't know. And so and Vlad goes, "Yo, man, are we cool? I just want to make sure that everything's cool, everything's all right." I go, "What are you talking about?" I was like, he's like, "No, there was just down and I just want to make sure that we're cool." Then I get the messages, Royce the Fight Nine, and then his grandson Elijah says, "Brother, can we talk to you? We're gonna holler at you and Lord Jamar Buzzer." I'm like, "What the going on?" And then I called you, right? I think we talked, and he goes, "Yo, hit the fan, blah blah blah," and then we had a big conference call, and we actually, as men, called Vlad himself as a friend.
I called him and I was like, "Yo, we need to talk to this nigga
one-on-one."
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, because we need to let this nigga know, like, yo, he needs to change his stance on this. And if he don't stance, yo, bro, we need to stop that because this is some and you know what I mean?
Yes.
We need to take a stand. This is making us look bad right now.
Yeah.
And that ain't cool.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Nope.
And so he said, "Yeah, all right." So boom, we called him, and we like, "Yo, we gonna give us a chance as a friend."
We said, "Let's
like,
not talk behind your back and talk."
And ain't nobody do no sucker record the
Nah, hell no,
no dumb that straight up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We called them like, man, on the freeway. Boom, yo, Vlad, yo, check it out. Yeah, it's me and Godfrey. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Boom, bam, boom.
Yeah.
Yo, listen, man. You know what I mean? Just with the Farrakhan, I feel like this is how it first was said. Like, yo, bro, kind of need to like just apologize, man. You know what I mean?
Like,
I'm not apologizing. You know what I mean?
No, he said he sent out a thing. Remember, he sent out. I sent out a little. I sent out a little sort of an apology, like a thing that I made a mistake. I said, "You didn't say sorry, bro."
That ain't a real like.
Company when a company is racially discriminating against you,
it's the
management
apology, not apology.
But first of all, he made Nick Cannon apologize for what he said, and Nick did it because Nick had a lot to lose. I'm glad Nick did it because he hires a lot of African Americans. Nick apologized, and you even told me he's not even a practicing. You know what? He's an atheist.
Nice. Yeah.
No, he's an atheist. Right. And so all of a sudden,
I've seen him eat pork.
And you know what? And because his girls be making pork for him. So then. And so then he goes, he's not, as soon as a black dude says something about, his folks, all of a sudden he turns into black dude, don't talk shit about me, blah, blah, blah. And he goes, he needs to apologize. All of a sudden the superiority thing comes in. Nick did, and then you can't do that for us. And whether you like Farrakhan or not, whether you like Al Sharpton or whatever, those are people that represent us. They're not perfect, we get it. And there's nobody perfect.
But Farrakhan is still revered
big time
in the black community.
Big time.
Yes. And I don't get personal feelings are, you're not going to disrespect the man amongst black people. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah. How about this? What he said wasn't even right. It was wrong. It was bad faith argument that he made. He knew that it was hyperbole what he said. In fact, he said the thing was they need to be hit with the rock of truth.
Yes,
that's what it was. What he was saying wasn't even the truth in the first place.
It was figurative, and he said that.
And he knew it was figurative.
So it got to a point where we tried to give him the easy way.
Yes, we did.
And he didn't want that. And he was like, well, he still said negative about Jewish people. Basically, I'm with him. And so then it was like, so then I came at him with the gang. I ain't gonna lie.
As you should.
I'm like, yo, bro, if you apologize, bro, really now I said something to the effect of, now it's time, it's past the point of even asking anymore.
Right.
I said, bro, you need to apologize.
Period.
If you don't apologize, we do no more.
And he still stood on 10 toes.
He said, well, I'm not going to be
bullied.
I'm not going to be bullied into.
Yeah, he did that. Their black aggression.
Bullied into apologizing.
The black aggression wasn't working for him because he usually has aggression when brothers are telling on each other.
He loves that.
He likes that when we're being foolish. But when
now
he's wrong,
standing on black business is a problem.
Right. That's now and then and I know he gave some jabs about us on other interviews.
I haven't watched him because if I did, I probably would.
Yeah, and I mean,
have you seen his new haircut?
No, I haven't seen any of it. I haven't seen none of it.
I just see it.
I think we have the same barber too.
And his new cut, the way his hair looks right now,
it's angering you.
Beard, it is angering me.
And the people were like, "You got beef with Glass?" I never had beef with him, man. We just didn't agree on his what he would believe.
Why wouldn't you have beef with him? He disrespected.
No, he did. No,
he disrespected.
But I'm not going around saying crazy shit about him.
No, I get it. But you're a culture vulture.
What's crazy is he has the nerve to pay for interviews now.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes, he's paying for. So he didn't pay y'all.
And that was the beef.
That was
he
didn't pay me, but he had me.
The beef with Marlon Wayne. Marlon Wayne was $40,000 plus like a cut of the percentage of the revenues. Now, what's even more a slap in the face? I just saw an interview where he was on Matt Hoffa.
Vlad?
Yes. Where he said he was being to Marlon and he apologized to Marlon Wayans.
I don't know if that's true. Is it?
I watched the interview, bro. What are you talking about?
Or he apologized.
He said out of his own mouth, he said, I was being an he said, and I apologized
because he went to
Marlon
Shay. That's why.
Wayans.
But yeah, but
So hold up.
why is that?
So hold up. You can apologize to Marlon Wayans, but not Minister Farrakhan.
But it's a different time. It's a different time. He sees the writing on the
You
wall.
can apologize to the guy that entertainment white chicks, but you can't apologize to the guy that organized the Million Man March.
But he's looking at it as an entertainment
because of the fact that everybody's turning against Vlad. Because now we're seeing that Vlad is a culture vulture, and that he's been stirring up community, and he's made his millions on black culture. And so now if you're going to do it, everybody's getting paid. And if they do it, he's got to start acting right, because before everybody was like, oh, I'll just do it for the exposure. I'll just do it. And that's dead now because he's a dirtbag. Everybody sees him as a dirtbag. When he comes up on my feed, I don't even click. The first thing I do is I click on it and I go, don't have this
come up on my feed.
Don't put this on my feed. I reject it and I report it because he's a culture vulture, and we shouldn't do that.
So that's yeah. So and there's some stuff I'll watch if I go, oh, this guy's on there, because there's some guys that still do it.
He gets no views from me. If you on there,
Michael J. White is on there, and who else? DL still goes on there.
They get a check,
TK, which is fine. He's paying them.
That shit.
And he wanted me to host, do some guest hosting. He was going to pay me.
He was going to do the same
Right,
thing
you're right.
before the shit happened.
Yeah, before it happened. Yeah, he was going to pay. So
yeah, we got through that. It was always an entertaining conversation. Nothing super crazy or super entertaining, but it's an entertaining conversation. So I'm going to cover some of these topics. Again, listen to these guys. These guys aren't intellectuals. I'm not going to nitpick every single word they say, but I do think meaning is important. These guys are communicating with the English language. We know the English language. Words are important. I'm going to evaluate them based off what they're saying if it makes sense. So they start off by talking about how Vlad brags on what he got. Now, this is my issue. And you see this, people who are coming up, and you've been in a situation where you go up around certain people, interact around certain people, and then you start doing better for yourself. And some people might look at you mentioning anything as you bragging. I remember I had this friend. We used to work together, and we would talk about all the hours we worked and overtime and how to go. The check gonna look nice, and it was cool. I went into a different industry, started making quadruple the money that I was making over there. And I did it no different than I would have did when I worked with him. I was like, man, I did this right here, and I made this money right here. One day, this guy calls me out of the blue. Hey, I need to borrow this amount of money, thousands of dollars. I'm like, I ain't got it to give. Those people who know, when you're making, like Dame Dash talk about it, bigger flips, more money, bigger flips, money out in the streets. In the book, the Richest Man in Babylon, you got your money making little monies for you. For me, I had other stuff going on, investing in certain things. I was like, hey, man, I ain't got it to give like that. That's I'm like, man, you got two incomes. What's going on? Him and his wife. He's like, well, don't brag about it if you ain't giving it up. I was like, that's wild. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I was bragging because I was telling him about what I was doing. I'm working this, I'm making this. Same way I did, we worked together. It was never a problem. But now because my income quadrupled, now it's a problem. Now I'm bragging. There's somebody I'm still close with to this day. But I never forgot that, how the human mind works. I'm bragging now. I wasn't stunting. I wasn't dressing no different, really. I was just talking about, hey, man, I did this right here. And I've been trying to get him to come on and do what I was doing. The money's here. I told him about it before I even got on all the way. I said, hey, I'm going to start doing this right here. Come join it with me. They saying the money's crazy. The person might have been unemployed for all I think at this time. Maybe. I don't know. I can't remember. Nah, let me know. You go do it and let me know. Money started coming. I'm telling him what's going on because he told me to let him know. I had a few friends tell me that. Let me know. Okay, the money's real. I can bring you on. Me and the manager's cool. Me and the owner's cool. We good. I'm bragging now. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know what the context with them. Obviously, him bragging wasn't bothering them when they was friends. How long was Lord Jarmar on Vlad TV before they had a problem like that? It had to be at least
some years.
I would say at least a year. I'm not the best with time, but it's gonna be at least a year. So did Vlad start bragging after the Farrakhan stuff? it was cool at first when he was kiki and laughing and talking about how close y'all was at different points in the show. When he was bragging that time, when he was benefiting off it, once that train was ending, now all of a sudden he's bragging. Now you don't like it no more. Is that a reflection of Vlad or a reflection of your character? Are you hee-hee and ha-ha with him all that time while he was bragging if it was bothering you, if you thought there was some kind of morally wrong with that? I don't have a problem with my friends bragging around me. You could be a millionaire. You could be making $15 an hour somewhere, and you got some overtime coming up. And you bragging about, I got some overtime. Your boy balling. I'm gonna be like, yeah, I see you. I see you. I remember my days, man, getting that overtime and making an extra couple of dollars. I felt like I was on top of the world. I'm not going. If we not cool, I'm not gonna be like, man, he was over there bragging about a little over $15. I might say it was funny, but in my heart, that don't bother me. I'm glad you came up. Get all the money you can. Just don't can it and sit on it. Spread it around. Spread the love. But anyway, so yeah, they're saying you bragging on it. Again, I don't like this. To me, this stuff is written as fake. If you were still friends the whole time he was doing it before, then why is it a problem now? He said, he made it seem like it was an opportunity to be on his show. Y'all, come on, let's be real. It was an opportunity to be on this show. I ain't watched y'all since y'all been off that show.
Facts.
Now, Godfrey, a little bit. I mean, I've always been a fan of Godfrey's comedy, but I wasn't checking for him like that either, though. When I would see him pop up, I might click on it. I may not, because there's a lot of other comedians I like. White, black, Hispanic, Asian, all kind of comedians I like. I like Godfrey. Smart guy, has good observations, great impressions. Smart, guy, Nigerian, but not a Nigerian elitist when he looking down on African Americans. I like his swag. I like his communication. I like his perspectives on things, whether I agree or disagree. But let's keep it real. Vlad blew y'all up, especially Lord Jarmar. I mean, brand Nubian. I was talking to a young man, probably was like 25, 26, and he didn't even know who David Banner was. You think he's going to know who Lord Jarmar is? We in the side. Boys don't even mess with that East Coast rap like that out here. You know what I'm saying? Like, not everybody, but other people like don't mess with that stuff.
This is true.
So my point is saying this. Y'all benefited massively from Vlad's platform. Now, did y'all contribute to Vlad's platform? Yes. Lord Jarmar was a compelling figure with interesting perspectives that, similarly to Boosie, will say what's on his mind. He didn't have always the most intellectual takes. Sometimes he was contradictory. Sometimes his points were biased and self-grandizing. He had all kinds of stuff going on, but he also had interesting takes, thoughtful takes, smart takes, unique takes. He contributed to that platform. So it's an exchange. Obviously, Lord Jarmar thought the exchange was worth his investment of time. And also, Vlad believed the same thing. So Vlad can say, but if you had to pick who was benefited who more, it's not close. Let's keep it real, it's not close. Vlad is carried on without Lord Jarmar, without Godfrey, doing just fine. The people he bring on now, we enjoy just as much as we enjoy Lord Jarmar, if not more. I've watched maybe 1 or 2 episodes of Lord Jarmar's podcast. And I didn't do it all at one time either. Probably didn't even finish. No knock on him. The dynamic between him and Vlad was different. The juxtaposition, the difference in culture, the difference in perspective, the difference in angle they would take, the different passions they have and convictions they have about life, the philosophies, all those things made for a good conversation. He hasn't found that sparring partner. It was like Skip and Stephen A. Skip and Shannon Sharp. That synergy was different. So no, It's not an even exchange. You know, Godfrey and Vlad won that, and every person that's been on that show has let the audience know, hey, being on this show has helped. I'm getting gigs I wasn't getting before. I'm back relevant again, or I'm more relevant than I was before. That's a fact of reality. There's no need to deny the facts because it don't feel good.
And you see that actually, you saw that, you hear the real Rick Ross say that. He said when he's traveling the world, he done a lot of interviews. He said what people know him for is Djvlad interviews. I think TK Kirkland said the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, and I know he said the same to Joe Rogan too. I think Joe Rogan helped his T-shirt pop or something like that he had going.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with giving credit to these platforms. That's what they're there for, and it's a mutual exchange. But they gonna make money off of you one time when you on the show, whatever the numbers that show does. You gonna keep making money off of Vlad or Joe Rogan and the other platforms. So let's not make it seem like let's not pretend that this exchange is some kind of mutual, even 50-50 transaction. And if he would have carried himself with an air of, I help you in your endeavors monetarily, let him have it. That's facts. You playing chess, you playing checkers. Don't outshine the master. They would want to hear that. Calling a white guy the master. Anyways, counsel a friend. We got him out of jams. People always want to do this. Anytime somebody want to help somebody out, the things they helped you out with was a big deal. You know what I'm saying? And you would have never got out of it without them. I helped them with some big situations. Some big situations. Come on, man. That may or may not be true. But now it's been how long since he's been without Lord Jarmar? He's still alive. His show's still doing well. If what we see is any indication, which I don't see why it wouldn't be, he'd been just fine without you. He may have had to go through some bumps and roads, which all of us have to. He would have survived without Lord Jarmar. He would have survived without Godfrey. If y'all were truly friends, like you said y'all were, wouldn't that just be your duty to help him out in any way that you could? They're the ones that call him a friend. They didn't say he wanted to be our friend, but we wasn't feeling him because he was always bragging about what he got. He was a culture vulture and this, that, and the other. They weren't saying that. They was kiki-keying up there with Vlad, which I thought was pretty cool. Don't change up now because it doesn't suit you no more. So, didn't get paid for advice. I helped this guy, and I didn't get paid for advice. You the friend. Why are you supposed to get paid for advice for your friend? Or you a transactional friend? He was paying strangers because strangers aren't his friend. So yeah, if you're gonna utilize their services, you need to pay for it. They don't know him. So now you whining about not getting paid for advice or whatever the case may be when he was gonna pay somebody else. That's some low. If I had a friend do something like that, I'd be like, that's crazy. Now, if Lord Jarmar was saying, hey, look, I let him use this, or I have this business, and I let him utilize this service, you know what I'm saying? Then okay, fine. He can pay you for your service if that's your business. But if you're giving advice and helping people get through certain situations and you're mad because he don't pay you when he was going to pay a consultant or whatever the situation was, that means you weren't really no friend to begin with. People say it's not Vlad's. I mean, oh yeah, he's talking about that. I'm starting to get all this backlash because, you know, people are talking about you over here co-signing this guy and this, and this, whatever he said. That got nothing to do with Vlad. If I got a homeboy and I'm speaking my opinion on this show, and then somebody comes and says, hey, James, man, you know, now I'm starting to get flack for the stuff you're saying on the show and stuff like that. Now I'm starting to come back and get backlash on me. Hey, bro, tell him what you got to tell him. Tell him you don't associate with me. Tell him I ain't really your boy. I don't care what you say. You're not going to infringe on my freedom of speech, me expressing my opinion about stuff, and I'm allowed to be wrong at that just because you're getting a little bit of flack for some stuff I'm saying. Man up. That's my boy, but we don't have the same opinion. That ain't a Vlad problem. That's a you problem. Say it with your chest. change your stance or we are not friends. That's some gangster stuff right there. If some friends tell me, hey, change your stance. Now, we're talking about some immoral stuff like trafficking, a certain kind of assault, homicides, robberies, and stuff like that. Deleting yourself. People are doing things in that kind of an arena. Okay, fine. Yeah, some of those things are deal breakers for friendships. If I find out you doing that, our friendship is over. But that's not a stop doing it or else we're not gonna be friends. That's a hey, look, you did that stuff for real. Yeah, we can't be cool no more, man. I don't associate with stuff like that. But somebody having an opinion about a certain person, you saying if you don't apologize to them, we're not friends no more. Nah. Now, I'm the kind of person that if a friend of mine is displaying poor character, bitterness, vengefulness against somebody that didn't actually wrong them, and they're maintaining that animosity towards them and refusing to repent, I do have a timeline, a loose timeline in my head. I'm gonna give them their time. People need time to, vent and do all kind of things. Okay, fine, but it's not gonna be forever us being cool and you just mistreating somebody, because that means you don't care about what's fair and what's right and what's good. You care about yourself. I can't be around somebody like that. You got anything you want to say, Enos?
No, sir. No, sir. You go ahead. Oh, I do want to add some context to the apology. Do you want to address that, or you guys?
You want to address? You can address if you want to.
Yeah. So for the audience, just in case y'all wondering what was said, Djvlad misquoted Minister Farrakhan during an interview with D.L. Hughley, which sparked controversy. According to reports, Vlad claimed that Farrakhan called Jews Satan and encouraged people to throw rocks at him. However, the actual quote from Farrakhan's July 4th World Address, can't see that, let me move this around, address about picking up the stone of truth against the so-called, Jews that's not being considered true Jews, right? So what ended up happening, Djvlad put out, this is what Godfrey was talking about. Vlad put out a tweet because he misquoted him what I mentioned earlier. So on Friday, Vlad TV, this is his tweet. On Friday, Vlad TV posted an interview with D.L. Hughley where I referenced a part of Farrakhan's speech about Jews. After our interview was released, I was made aware that there was a later part in the Farrakhan speech where he clarified those points. Based on the new info, we removed that part of our interview, changed the title, and moved the social media posts. Although I don't agree with Farrakhan's statements, Vlad TV has always reported on people accurately and will continue to do so. So that's what Lord Jarmar and Godfrey was upset about. They said this wasn't considered a real apology. This is the actual tweet they was speaking on. So
yeah, so if this is the tweet he's talking about right here, if this is the one, that's a thorough apology.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you'd expect somebody to do. Mm-hmm. Now, he don't got to, if they wanted him to call Farrakhan, apologize, or to issue some kind of thing on his, do that.
You remember what he said? Godfrey said, yeah, bro, but you didn't say sorry. That's what that's what he said. So, but go ahead. I just want to.
Yeah, I think, I would tell my friend the same thing. Hey, you didn't say sorry. But he don't got to say sorry the day that I tell him he got to say sorry. Now, if I really feel that strongly about it, because this is the thing right here. What is a friendship predicated on? Shared values. We all have our deal breakers in relationships, platonic, romantic, occupational, whatever it is. How my friendships work, after I got out of high school, when you in high school, you got friends because y'all got to be around each other. Yeah. You got your hooping friends. Once you're an adult, and you got a car and you got your own place, you get to pick and choose who you associate with. Mm-hmm. And a lot of us, as we get into that age bracket, we realize that some people that was cool for a moment, maybe they looked out for you a few times, they got you some jams. That was cool, but we're on a different season now, and they don't align with my values. Mm-hmm. And when you're at that stage in the game, when you're looking at people to align with your values, then that might, for me, that would mean I can't be friends with people who are stubborn, who are stiff-necked, who can't take accountability, who have low empathy and they can't apologize to people for doing things that are wrong. To people, somebody who thinks they're above that, or the person that they're dealing with is below the dignity of being able to receive that type of thing. If somebody's, I'm not going to associate with that person. Once I figure that's who they are, and I give them adequate time, from my perspective, to adjust, to make the corrections, to repent, all of whatever you want to say, and I see that's not a part of who they are, I'm out. You do that to them, you do it to me. So I'm with them on saying, hey, you need to say sorry, but it wasn't at that point. They called him mad already from what he said. Then he's getting into some gangster stuff. I've had friends that took 6 months to do the mature thing. I've had friends that took a couple years to do now, this wasn't heavy, deep stuff. I had a friend of mine who was talking about man, the church, the guys in the church don't ever call me. The leaders of the church don't ever call me, man. I'm a member of the church, don't ever call me. I'm like, you call them? No. So they got 100 people to call. You got like 2 or 3 or 4. It's way easier for you to call them than for them to call you. The moment he called him, it was at his house the next week. Bought him groceries and all kind of stuff for him.
That's what's up.
He didn't agree with me that day when we sat there talking about it, and I felt like he was wrong. You're maligning these people and speaking disparagingly about some people who, as far as I know, are generally trying to do the right thing as imperfect people. Once he finally realized he was in his feelings and he was being biased in a way that was against them and in favor of his selfishness, and he was saying things to confirm his own biases, he got back on the right track. That was years ago. He talk about that now. We laugh about it. It was like, yeah, I was tripping. If I'd have called him like, hey, man, if you were my friend, man, you got to go ahead and call these guys and apologize and all this other kind of stuff. You need to tell me right now you're wrong for what you're doing, what you're saying about them. It was premature. Give people time to grow. Vlad might have came around. You don't know. But he did the right thing professionally right here. To me, that's a step in the right direction. But he may not like Farrakhan for other reasons. I don't hear disrespect people and said things people might find offensive. Lord Jarmar has on Vlad TV.
Okay,
I didn't like the way Lord Jarmar came at Dr. Umar Johnson at certain points.
Yeah.
And I come at Dr. Umar Johnson on some things in a respectful way, critical of some of the statements he's made, some of his beliefs. I like the way Lord Jarmar handled that. I thought he could handle it a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Does that mean the issue any kind of apologies for that? Bring somebody on your platform? I thought he could have handled it better. I think he just treated, Dr. Umar a little bit more dignity and respect. So anyways, him being atheist is irrelevant.
Yeah, that was left field.
Yeah, that's that hypocrisy fallacy and genetic fallacy stuff. Him being atheist is irrelevant. Just because he's atheist doesn't mean he can't have an opinion about people. He felt like he's been disrespected as a Jew. Jew is an ethnicity as well as a religion.
Yeah, that's the part.
Religion to consider us to be part of the ethnic group and to want to defend your ethnic group. But I feel like he's being attacked.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are confused about that. They assume that if they're not practicing the religion, that they're not.
Yeah. That's just like, people do that in crazy, bizarre ways where they'll be like, man, this dude, he ain't even black. He don't even listen to hip hop. He don't even know who so and so is. You're not even black. You don't even watch. You don't even know. You never seen the movie Friday. Just I'm not culturally, stereotypically black doesn't mean I'm not black. So you say something about black people, I can still take it offensively if I don't watch Friday. He can't disrespect our representatives. It's not true. Accountability. Now, I don't believe in disrespecting people, period. But at the same time, that's not his representative. That's not all of our representatives anyway. Go ahead.
Would you consider this disrespect, misquoting somebody? And then,
I think disrespect would be a stretch.
Okay.
I think the word is accurate. I misquoted that individual. Now, if I purposefully misquoted them, that's disrespectful.
That's the thing.
If I was negligent in doing my due diligence to make sure I got the quote right, that's a tough one on disrespectful. I wouldn't pick a fight over that.
So misunderstanding, misinterpreting somebody is not it's not the same as disrespecting somebody, because you got to judge the intention. You got to prove that he intentionally did that.
And then not showing somebody the reverence is not necessarily being disrespectful. I always say there's respecting somebody, there's treat somebody as a neutral, and then there's disrespecting somebody. I may not give you Vlad may not give him Mr. Farrakhan the reverence that Lord Jarmar and Godfrey may give him. I think that Minister Farrakhan's a great orator.
Definitely.
A brilliant mind in a lot of ways. Even though I don't agree with religious beliefs. I think that when you're able to keep that many black men organized, you're a bad man with jammer.
Yeah. That's
But
tough to do.
that don't mean I got to give him the same reverence that a Nation of Islam guy does. I don't agree with their religious perspectives. I don't agree with their philosophy on a lot of different things.
For sure, absolutely.
Then he said, "Come at him, gangster." You just proved the stereotype. Yeah, he gonna say something like, "You're not gonna bully me into this." Imagine you and your friend having a disagreement about some kind of principle about how we treated somebody else, and they want to come at you gangster over it. Thought you was my friend. Are you assuming I'm coming with good intentions or not? So, to me, that's a true testament to how much friends y'all really was. Now you coming across people that's using this platform for your benefit.
Especially they said, I'm getting pressure from the out. I'm telling you what you do on your platform. This is your business. It was two things that stood out when you said earlier, like people that's running their business and they go to the friend, hey, what you think I should do interacting with my employees or whatever? You give them advice and they expect to get paid. They take your advice. It's like, it was the wise counsel at that time, right? And then two, I think I forgot my point, but yeah, that was one point that stood out. And
yeah, he can't disrespect our representatives like that. Came at him gangster. I'm not gonna be bullied. He said that. Yeah, he should say I'm not gonna be bullied. It's not him playing victim or the scary black man stuff, as Ryan Clark said, and as these guys are saying, we got to stop playing that card so much. You already said you came gangster. You already said before you got on the phone with the guy. You already said I'm gonna stop being this guy's friend if we can't convince him out of it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You've been pressured from the outside. These are your friends. He's doing something on his platform, his business. Hey, I know what you're doing over there, but I'm getting heat for what you're doing at your business. I'm not going to be your friend anymore because I'm getting
this guy was doing nothing illegal at his business that we know of. It's like, now it's one thing if Lord Jarmar would say, hey, look, if you don't apologize, I'm not coming on your platform anymore. That's fair.
That's different, yeah.
Now I'm not gonna be your friend anymore. I'm not black aggression, but he likes it otherwise. It's the same thing they're always talking about. Like he gets black people on there to talk about violence and stuff like that. Now again, I'm not a fan of none of that stuff, but they're talking about it in their music already. Why can't he make money off of it? The people that they're talking about make money off of these things in their music. Why can't Vlad make money off of it? From a logical, fair-minded perspective, if they can make money off it, Vlad can make money off it. People are watching it. A significant part of Vlad's audience is black and white, but black. They're supporting it. Him getting these guys to tell their stories and talk about the things they did is entertaining. In sales, we say stories sell. They're telling their stories. Now, I don't agree with these guys telling stories with the statute of limitation is still in effect. But that's on them. Vlad's job is to ask questions the audience will appreciate. His loyalty is to his audience, primarily like most businesses. Their loyalty is to their audience, people that support their work, more than the people that come on the show and communicate. So you got to keep that in mind. So he said he likes the black aggression from me, but he makes money off black aggression. Is there something approximating that right there? Obviously, yes. You're coming at him aggressively. They're supposed to be a friend over a difference of opinion. That I happen to agree with Lord Jarmar on for the most part. But that's still not how you treat your friend. And then outside of that, he's telling him, you making money off this stuff. Do you have a problem with it or what? Vlad was doing that stuff the whole time Lord Jarmar was on the show. The whole time Godfrey was on the show. You can't anachronistically, after the fact, retroactively go back and say, I had a problem with it the whole time. How can nobody call these guys out on that? Was it a problem when he did it the first time? Was it a problem now that y'all ain't cool no more? Because what it looks like is a problem now that y'all not cool no more. Culture Vulture. Again, we named the show this, so we got to talk about this part. But again, this Culture Vulture thing. Vlad is a part of hip hop culture. He's not a culture vulture. We have a definition for culture vulture. Should I just read the one I have? You know.
Yeah, you can just read the one you have.
Yeah, so I got culture vulture right here. A culture vulture is a person who is very interested. So I got two definitions here. I don't know if I'm gonna read all of these. Well, depending how long it is, but no diddy. A person who is very interested in the arts, especially to an obsessive degree. There's more than enough to satisfy the thousands of culture vultures who will descend on the Scottish capital. Nah, that wasn't a good one. Oh, sorry. Culture vulture is a person who adopts something from a different community and makes it their own. So I'm gonna use that. I'm gonna start with that definition right there. If that's a culture vulture, everybody's a culture vulture. All of us here are utilizing stuff from all kind of different cultures, whether it's garb, cuisine. I mean, I know my palate is very diverse. Didn't I hear you order some soy sauce earlier? You know.
Yes, sir. Chinese food.
Culture vulture. Yeah.
In every black neighborhood.
Yeah. You learned it in school. Culture is including cuisine, your religion, your worship style, your garb, your attire, the music you listen to, the tools, the artifacts you use. All that's a part of a culture. Your language. So if you're going to call somebody, this is the definition of culture vulture. We're all culture vultures.
Especially in hip hop.
And ain't nothing more, I think was it Melly Mel or something like that. One of them said the biggest culture vulture of them all, the most heinous culture vulture. Not that there's anything wrong with being a culture, adopting different cultures, but the most heinous is hip hop itself. I still, as a man in his 30s, is left bereft of utterance by the amount of sampling going on in hip hop. Not that I'm against it at all, but sometimes I be clicking on some stuff online and I realize this certain sound I like the whole time is really, if you slow it down or speed it up or change the way that you do it, it's actually a song, or some country song, or some other kind of song that they didn't changed up to make it sound like a sound. I can't even tell its words anymore. Or they sampling whole beats. The whole thing. And we don't care about, well, you got to understand the black context and why they did this and what they didn't have access to. Special pleading. Well, in this situation, it's okay because of this. You don't know what his personal circumstance was. You don't know if he grew up rich. You don't know if hip hop was a way out for him, because clearly it was a way out. He used hip hop to become multimillionaire. He's helped a lot of black people on his platform. Just like Godfrey says Nick Cannon has employed a lot of blacks, Vlad helps a lot of blacks on his platform. Typically not the kind of blacks I prefer to be helped out in the first place. I'm still mad Lil Durk got a key to the city.
Oh yeah, we got it.
Obama got a key to the city, and we got a guy who's a gang member as a key to a city. What does that tell the youth? As long as you become successful and make money, whatever moral pathway you choose is just fine. So on the culture vulture concept, let's read this right here. The brain has a remarkable capacity to model self to others. People close to us become a part of ourselves, and that is not just a metaphor of poetry, it's very real. There's an article about this, about how when people are around other people and stuff like that, we tend to assimilate into different cultures. We tend to take on people around us. I have friends that I use their slang. I don't even talk like that. Now I'm using their slang. Anybody who's been married, have a girlfriend, you might pick up their cuisine habits. You might pick up their sound. You pick up all kind of stuff from people because you're around them all the time. Nothing wrong with that. So I want to find a definition. A person or culture vulture definition, Urban Dictionary, a person or organization making profit using unhonorable practices from a culture they do not care for. Unhonorable is going to be opinionated. So that's going to be difficult. This right here, example in music. Major record labels signing the latest viral rapper, exploiting them for the max returns, even if their music sucks. I think a lot of music sucks, and the people who disagree with me, you know how it is, the old man get off my lawn stuff. Just like the basketball players say the new basketball ain't real basketball. The old football players say that the new football ain't real football. This football sucks. These rappers suck. The mumble rap movement. Nas talking about hip hop's dead. A lot of these people think that something sucks. It's an opinionated thing. I like to get into the science of the music, the double entendres, the similes, all that kind of stuff that goes into there. Allegory, whatever for when it comes to music. I can do scansion. We can get in the meter. We can talk about the rhyme, assonance, alliteration, all the things that make rap cool and hit the punchlines and all that kind of stuff. Double entendres. That's, to me, what I enjoy about rap, and the fact you can fit so much content in a song with rap. Other people like the beats. They don't like all that intellectual verbiage in rap. Who you trying to be? A professor?
But you're trying to get knowledge.
Yeah, you're trying to get knowledge. I can't get jiggy with this stuff. Funny how you say trying to get knowledge and jiggy. Y'all heard that? That's bars. Jiggaman. So my point is saying this right here. That's what kind of rap I like. The next man doesn't like none of that rap. He likes rap with a banging beat that you can bob your head to. I think his music sucks, and they're exploiting those people because they know those people suck, and they're exploiting the culture because they're using them. Am I right? That's an opinion. So yeah, this culture vulture thing, nothing wrong. People can assimilate into whatever culture they want to. I can right now go to Japan and act as the typical Japanese person right now if I want to, and they're not gonna have no problem with it. They probably would embrace me. One thing we learn in sales, if you want to sell to people outside of your culture, pick up their language, learn the culture, communicate with them in a way that's like an olive branch to them that, hey, look, I take interest in what you have going on. So keep that in mind. This culture vulture stuff goes against sound reasoning when you study psychology and you study how to win friends and influence people. You study how to make people, like you.
Yeah, and Vlad won a lot of friends in our community.
Yeah, he got a lot of friends in our community. He brings value. He's a part of hip hop.
They solved Tupac murder.
Yeah, he's as hip hop as it gets. I don't agree with all his takes. I definitely don't like the rappers he likes.
For sure.
I'm sure he and I like some of the same rappers, but I definitely like a lot of the rappers that he likes, especially none of these new guys.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got to understand that culture vulture stuff from a linguistic standpoint, an etymological standpoint, from a word standpoint, is bunk. It's not real. It's not reasonable.
But that's powerful when in this quote when it says the brain is remarkable capacity to model itself after others. So if Vlad is in the culture, from my understanding, he said he's been And
he's gonna pick up. He's gonna have a very similar values to people that are hip hoppers.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's not him being a culture vulture. That's him assimilating to what he's around.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where we at now? Disrespect to the culture. He didn't disrespect the culture. Everybody in the culture has their own opinions and perspectives. And they all share their opinions and perspectives. That's not being disrespectful. You could like some people, rappers beef within the context of hip hop. They express each other opinions. There's nothing wrong with that. Now he is paying for interviews. That's his business. He can do what he wants to do. You just bitter because it wasn't happening when you was there. He wants to pay somebody for the interview and not pay you. That's fine. Then the last part of this whole thing, he talks about Marlon and Farrakhan. You apologize to Marlon, but you don't apologize to Farrakhan. Then he takes what people could consider a microaggression or diss at Marlon by saying you apologize to the guy who did White Chicks about the Million Man March.
Who did White Chicks?
So we're giving apologies based off people's station in life and what they did or didn't do, as opposed to just doing it based off what's right or wrong and whether you were actually wrong. If I wrong a homeless man, I'm going to apologize. If I'm talking to the President of the United States and I don't think that I wronged him, I'm not apologizing.
Yeah, but and then when you pay for interviews, that shows that you value somebody's time too. The people that you're interviewing. So I don't see nothing wrong with that. If he's paying for interviews, you're showing the people that you interview that you value their time. Compensating them.
But I think what he's saying is that he wasn't paying for interviews when he was doing it, but now he is.
Oh.
So.
Well, Jarmar should negotiate.
Should negotiate better. Or you got to realize you wouldn't have nothing. Come on, who's going to pay Lord Jarmar for interviews? Nobody knew who you were before that show. And of course, I'm being hyperbolic. Some people knew who he was, and I'm sure some guys who are 40 and up in New York know who he was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the conscious movement.
What did Kanye say? We don't listen to that conscious rap stuff. And he wasn't no Tribe Called Quest either. That Black Power stuff gets no play in this ride. And I like their music. My point is just saying this. Wasn't nobody paying you for no interviews. Now, Godfrey, that's debatable.
Mm.
But they wasn't doing it. You accepted the terms. Y'all still made money off of being involved with Vlad. So you can't, if he wants to run his business the way he's running it now, that's fine. That's not hypocrisy on his part. You just sour. And he comes across sour. Godfrey doesn't come across sour. Godfrey comes across one of those guys who was stuck in the crosswinds of the whole thing, and he had to choose between him being perceived as loyal to his race and a guy that he probably had already gotten everything he can get from anyway. So Godfrey, I don't get the bitter thing with Godfrey. He just seems like one of those guys who kind of stuck in between everything that's going on. So with Godfrey, it's a little bit different. But my point is just saying, if you're going to apologize to the homeless man when you're wrong, apologize to the king and vice versa. If you're not wrong, you don't need to apologize. It's manipulative. It's manipulative to apologize for what you did if you don't think you did anything wrong. You can apologize for what made a man feel, the fact that maybe what your intended purpose wasn't communicated in the best way, given what you did, whatever that is, that's fine. But these guys, but Lord Jarmar saying that he's a respecter of person and he bases his apologies off who it is very telling. That's a very immoral way to go about apologizing to people and treating people. So people that you can get away with it, people that there's a saying that says, you should evaluate somebody based on how they treat people that can't do anything for them. That's the true measure of your character and your integrity. And be real with you, I don't think Lord Jarmar is one of those guys who would treat somebody different just because of their station in life. I don't think he's that kind of guy. I think he just misspoke because he's bitter. I really don't think he's like that. I think he's a pretty good dude, probably. I know he has very strong values. He doesn't come across as an elitist guy to me. He just misspoke because I think he's bitter. That's what I got. So audience, I want y'all to hear that. The Vulcan is spoken. I like that.
Okay.
We got Enos on the ones
Hey.
and twos holding it down.
Yes,
But y'all
sir.
gotta understand, we're about logic and reason and being fair-minded. If you don't agree with something I'm saying, let's challenge me. Write it in the comments. Come on the show. We can talk about it. I'm no respecter of person. I don't care if you bring a homeless man up here. If you want to get busy with this intellectual discussion, we can get busy with it. But
Yeah.
I'm not
Calling y'all out.
The platform is not necessarily to have a debate. We can have an exploratory conversation. It doesn't have to be contentious. But I just want you to understand that the best idea should win. This platform is to help y'all understand how to reason critically so that you can be fair-minded, so that you can go from A to Z intellectually in a way that's going to be consistent and leads you down the right path with the least detours. So that's what I got. The Vulcan.
Yes, sir.
Look forward to seeing y'all next Thursday. You got anything?
No, sir. Just tune in next Thursday. Like and share the videos to everybody. Like and share. And thank you for tuning in. You are tuning in to the Vulcan Soapbox. Thank you for tuning in, y'all.